What is going on, everyone? I am the Intellivision Gamer, and I am here for the Intellivision Show number 2. We have a lot on the plate today. Hopefully get it all in time. I have an interview with Caleb Garner. I have an interview with Michael Hayes about Retro Games Con. He was there. We're going to go over some Intellivision homebrew news and other related topics. We are going to do a live game challenge with a lot of you chat guys. We got some of the guys already backstage waiting to play. So welcome, everyone. Let's go over chat members. PJ Smith is here. Hello, PJ. Pierre, welcome, Pierre. We got Salvador. 68 Camaro. Backstage, we have Hasselhoff, Kurt, and Michael Hayes so far. Going to give everyone a few minutes here, let people trickle in, and then we'll get started on the news. So we're going to do all the news, show you some things on some websites related to what I'm going to talk about. Then we're going to have Michael Hayes on to tell us about Retro Games Con, where he was this past weekend. We're going to show you some pictures, and then we're going to do the live game challenge. We should have 5 or 6 of us this time. Pretty good. Oh, that reminds me. Got to do the poll. Man, I knew there was something I was forgetting. I think I got to go. I've never done the poll on the live before. I think I got to be on regular YouTube for that one. Caleb's in the background now. Hello, Caleb. You can chat in, where is it? Private chat. You guys all in the backstage can chat with each other, or you can chat with the regular chat. Let me see here. Forgot about the poll. There was one thing I hadn't done yet, and that poll was it. So I guess we could just pick a game this time. And for the game challenge, we're going to do quick games, stuff like Astro Smash Challenge, anything 5 to 10 minutes long. Unless we have no other content, we'll do the longer game challenges. But for this time, we're going to keep it 5 to 10 minutes. We got a lot of people playing. Should be fun. A lot of guys got set up. We've been doing testing, so they're prepared. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is Pete and I made a video. Watch for it the end of this week, maybe Saturday morning, depending on when we are told we can release it. We have a video coming out showing you guys all the new games coming from Intellivision Revolution at PRGE. You're not going to want to miss it. Pete's put a lot of effort into it. And let me go ahead and show you guys that. I'm sure everyone knows who Pete is, but I'm going to show you guys. Where is it? Share. All right, so here's Papa Pete. Watch under the videos. Subscribe to him. Give the videos likes. I'm sure you guys all know who Papa Pete is, but just in case someone doesn't, watch this channel. It will not be on mine. I'll have my own videos released later, but Papa Pete's going to have a really nice video on all the games being released for Intellivision Revolution, so make sure you check that out at the end of the week. The next thing, we got podcast episode. For those of you that watch Intellivision Aries podcast, they are editing and putting together the last final touches on the next episode. I am told with good authority that it's going to be Wednesday. They're shooting for Wednesday, so I'm hoping for that because I got a 10 to 11 hour drive on the way up to PRGE, and I'm hoping I can listen to the podcast. So make sure you guys give that a listen when it comes out. So next up, we have Intellivision Collector. Now, most of you have already seen videos on this, but this is the first time I've got to talk about it. So Cloudfire, finally, I've been trying to get Luke to release this for a while. He wanted to release it pre-PRGE to get a little bit of buzz going. You can get the ROM, 1183 USD from IntellivisionCollector.com. This is one of my favorite games. And it's still available, complete in box form as well. If you haven't picked it up, it's one of the good sellers. And I believe it was second last year in the awards. So I'm going to switch over really quick here and play Cloudfire. I'm going to show you guys. For those of you that did not know what it is, This is one of my favorite games on the Intellivision. I beat it right whenever I came home from PRG and had it in my grubby little paws. So we're going to give you guys a quick little sample of Cloudfire in case you don't know. If you don't have this game and you only do ROMs, I suggest you buy it. It is highly worth the purchase. Let's get through that here. Hopefully the volume's okay. I mean, this definitely is something that's very impressive on the Intellivision. Data core found, collect these, uncovering what happened to this colony. It'll tell you other things too, you know, like things you can and can't do yet. I'm just going to play the first little bit. Watch your step, use that pipe on the right to climb down. Now this game has multiple endings as well. If you don't know that already, I have beat through all the endings. Ahead of you is a long fall. Be careful for now. I can't double jump yet either. Now when you first play this, you kind of move around a little bit, realizing you can't move on without doing other steps. I just happen to know the beginning part already. That key I just went and got unlocks this door here. Cyrus, what is going on? The yellow box down there may contain something of interest. If I remember right, that is a double jump, which you need to move on. I'm just going to play another minute or so, give everyone a little bit of taste that hasn't seen Cloudfire. I'm telling you, this game is amazing. Upgrade found, double jumping. Press the button twice quickly. So now I can jump higher. You can see it right there. Everyone knows what double jump is. And you need it to continue, that's for sure. See if I can do this without dying. Nope. It's been a while. Oh, did it again. I knew I should have practiced this before I played. So there, I can do that long jump now. I can't fall yet. That's something you get later. You can fall from a farther distance. So this is what the double jump lets you get up this, where you could not get it before. You may or may not be ready to climb to the top of these steps. I'm just going to get right up here and move on, and then we'll get out of this. Oop. So, I mean, I'm telling you guys, I love this game. I've got it all set up to play live. I know some people already have footage on it, but I just play on the ultimate flashback still. Right camera? Which one? All right, guess I have two Elgatos now, and they don't let me name them different things. So let me catch up and chat here really quick. Yeah, no poll, PJ. That's one thing I wasn't sure what to do, so we'll do a quick little poll and let people pick. Next time I'll have the regular poll ready. Operation Cloudfire is an amazing game. It truly is, Pierre. It's one of my favorites and one of the only Intellivision games I've beat. Super Mega Graphics says, I can't afford to buy a lot of the carts, but I can't afford ROMs. Hopefully I can get that LTO someday. Sorry to keep crying about it. I'm insanely jealous. Send me a message, Cyrus, on my personal, if you have that, or Intellivision Gamer Facebook. I might be able to help you out. Yeah, it really does. For an Intellivision game, oh man, that's just an amazing game. Pierre, Casey, were you able to save your game with the flashback? I'm working on that. I've been talking to a few of the programmers. I know there's a way to do it. It might not be easy. It is with the Jay-Z INTV emulator, but I play through the flashback, so I haven't been able to do it yet. So a game like Cloudfire, you're definitely going to want to be able to save. If you can't save, I would play it on a regular console where you can. PJ says, I'm with you on that, Cyrus. I wish there was a way to do ROM overlay purchases. Guys, he has been releasing more. If you notice, Electronite has had a lot of their games coming out ROM form from the Intellivision collector, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be something that continues to happen. So there's a lot of games that were previously not available, and they are now. And I can tell you going forward, there's going to be ROM purchases available from the Intellivision collector, or what I prefer, the complete in box ROM combo. And I love that because especially if you're streaming, you can get all the graphics, the manual, you know, the overlay, and you have everything in one package. And man, I just love that. Super Mega Graphics says, PJ, we need to start a club. Yeah, don't worry. I've been told end of the year to the beginning of the year, depending on how it goes. And after PRGE, well, a lot of us are going to be face-to-face and chatting, and I'm hoping to find an answer or a little bit of a closer one and get back to you guys. Pierre says, me too, I'm interested in the LTO. Yeah, I have, you can see him. I see if I can point to him right there. Boop, I can't even do this. This is weird. Right there and right there. I have not tried one yet, though. I do open stuff now before the show. Super Graphics says, much appreciated, dude. Yeah, send me a message. All right, so what do we got up next after Cloudfire? So I was going to show you guys. Let me go back over here. Share screen. All right, so here is Intellivision Collector. It is literally right on the main page here. Scroll down a little bit. You can find the Cloudfire ROM. Comes with all the goodies. ROM, digital files, box art, overlay, PDF manual. If you don't buy complete in box, that is the way to go. $11.83 USD. They're usually $10 to $12 for the ROMs. I think it's worth it when you get all that package along with it. So there's also Cloudfire is available complete in box. There are still copies left. Here that is $69.54 USD. Operation Cloudfire. It is in a nice gatefold box. I'll show you guys my copy here in a second. There it is, Intellivision Collector. Let's get back over here. So here is the copy that I play, because I had to play it on a regular console, and if I wanted to save, nice Activision style cartridge. Multi-page manual. You know, it's not one of the 1 or 2 page things like some of them have. And here is the overlay. Nice overlay. All right, where are we at here? So another bit of news I have is William Moeller of Electronite has told me that he has copies of games that are out. Some of you guys have probably seen this post. Let's see here. There's always some people that have not. Where is he? There's Electronite. Going back and forth, and everyone back and forth so much. So here is Electronite's Facebook. He has some games that were not easy to get. Cat Attack. So he's got Cat Attack available. He can also, you can save shipping. He has Robot Army, Infiltrator, Star Mercenary, TNT Cowboy, AF, which that's a hard one to say, so we all say AF, and Ninja Odyssey. So if you've missed out on any of those, make sure to go check that out. Combine them, save on shipping. I know he's going to have some stuff at Portland Retro Gaming Expo this coming week. In fact, I've got some of his boxes here from him and other people that I am taking for them since I'm driving. Now, there's one other thing I wanted to show you guys from him. This is going to be pretty cool for those of you that were watching. Astro Smash is about to get released. We already have Dynablaster and Shark Shark. So Astro Smash is coming soon. I'm going to be at PRTE when that thing comes out, but he's going to have it on the laptop, and we're going to be able to test it out or at least watch him play. I'm not sure yet, but I'm really looking forward to Astro Smash, one of my favorite games. And I got one other bit of Electronite news. I'm not sure if you guys have heard this one or not, but if you have ever played Space Patrol, it's not an easy one to get. It's not a cheap one to get. There is another run coming, and William Moeller is going to be, I'm not sure how many, but coming soon, you're going to be able to get Space Patrol again. And here from Joe's website, you can get the ROM for free. For anyone who doesn't know, this ROM is free, but a complete in box, it is coming very soon. So keep an eye out, and I will definitely be letting you guys know once that goes live. So we got one more thing here, Nano Chess. This guy has put out a lot of great stuff. He is now selling ROMs. He puts out the books. A lot of you guys have got the books on how to make Intellivision games. Also, I think he has an Atari book. I'm not sure what else. I pretty much only follow Intellivision. But he is selling ROMs in his store now. So let's take a quick look. They are, I think that, yeah, $9.90 each. I was going to say they're just under 10. Here is Castle of Death, Frankenstein's Monster, Unlucky Ponies Adventures, Aardvark. Saw DJC play that one. I have it. I hadn't tried it yet. It's definitely interesting. Meteors. And he also, you can buy his books. Programming games for Atari 2600, programming games for Intellivision, and there's an advanced book right there. I definitely want to get him on the show one of these times and do an interview. I'm pretty sure he's willing. I just haven't reached out to him yet. So if you're watching, I'm going to be messaging you soon. I want to go over everything you do, which is a lot for the community, and really appreciate it. So what do we have next? Cat Attack, Pete's video. I think that's everything. So now we're going to bring in Michael Hayes. He was just at Retro Game Cons this past weekend, and he's going to tell us a little about it. And we have some pictures that he put up. Are you ready, Michael? All right, here we go. Welcome, Michael Hayes.
Hi.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Little rush. I get home like 3:30, and it was like a mad dash to send everybody the links, bring up all the websites and get everything ready to go. It's like I wish I got home like a half hour earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So how was the show this weekend? And why don't you tell everybody what it was, when it was, where, like what you guys did, what you had available?
Yep. So what happened this past weekend was Retro Game Con X. And that is something that's been going on. Apparently, in 2019, it was the 7th year. But that was the first year that I was there. And so 2019 was the year that I released Fubar, finally, along with Blix and Chocolate Mine. So I had new releases. I right away, went there with a vendor table. And then COVID happened. So, but then last year, it started opening up again. So I was there last year again with now a better mousetrap, X-Ray and Dillagas. And then this year was, now the new, so we finally dropped the news about the new Melody Blaster that I put together. So I had...
Now, Melody Blaster 2 is what it's called. Yep. And maybe give us a little bit. I know some of the songs that are on there. Tell us about, maybe give us a few of them.
Oh, yeah, I can definitely tell you. So when you start it up, it opens up with the Hallelujah chorus from Handel's Messiah. Then some of the other songs, I had some Christmas songs in there. So you have like the Charlie Brown Christmas special, the familiar tune that everybody knows called Linus and Lucy. I have in there my own rendition of the song I Wonder As I Wander, which is traditionally sung at Christmas time. Then my favorite Christmas song, Carol of the Bells, is on there. I also have a couple others, like I have O Fortuna. And then we get over to actual video game music. We have, Kurobaniki. So that's, of course, but I took the rendition from the original Game Boy Tetris. So that's on there. And then we have the Pac-Man intermissions. Then for actual Intellivision, we've got Masters of the Universe, The Power of He-Man title screen. We've got Bomb Squad. We've got Thin Ice, which to fit it in the vocal range on the screen, I had to transpose it to the key of F, which it works out. And then finally, just because I had enough ROM space left, I just went all out and did the RC Pro-Am title screen with 5 out of the 6 channels.
That's very cool. I've heard about that. But one thing, guys, you do need the ECS and a music synthesizer keyboard to play this. But it's really cool, the additions that you've made to these games, and or this game and many others. So what else? What are we able to talk about? The other one, or the other game?
Well, yeah, it should be able to. It finally, the PCBs. Here's what happened: the PCBs finally arrived in the mail after I left for the con, which is why you don't see them in any of the pics. But let me just see here. But yeah, the other one is, you might remember I originally had created Hunt the Wumpus back in 2018, along with Robot Finds Kitten. That and a third game are going to be on a new Triple Challenge title.
Triple Challenge 2, and that will be coming soon as well. Looking forward to getting my hands on that.
Yeah, it's technically available now. I just have to assemble the boxes now, which I would have done that in the hotel room, probably, middle of the night, going into Saturday morning.
Yeah, that was unfortunate that some of that stuff didn't get there. So what other things did you see at the show, like other booths?
Well, what I did now, because, first of all, I was by myself this time. My wife didn't come with me because she went to a wedding. So it was just me. So I couldn't go anywhere, which for me is just fine. Personally, for me to sit there and represent Intellivision to the public, that is my enjoyment of the con. But anyway, so on Friday, what I did was I stayed after I got done setting everything up until, all the way until the end on Friday night. And I just walked around to see what there was. See, near the developers area, there's like a giant free play. They call it console museum. So they have like every console you can imagine. Plus, then they'll have like every computer you can imagine, like up through the ages. And then they have like a whole big area for like pinball machines, actual arcade cabinets. So they had that. I could have, would have, should have taken pictures then on Friday, but I was just so busy, getting everything set up, and I was just so tired I didn't even think of it. But there's plenty of pictures out there.
You're so busy sometimes with what you're doing that you forget to take all the pictures that you'd like to take.
Yeah, but again, there's pictures out there from the con. You can just see it out there, like from the official site and whatnot. But there was a lot of course, there was some of the other developers just up the aisle from me. A lot of Steam games. Somebody else had had their game running in what looked like a arcade cabinet. It was a shmup. Things like that. There was a fellow up the aisle from me representing the Aquarius, which was very cool. So he was very interested in the Intellivision because, again, he knew about the Aquarius. And he knew about the Intellivision. What happened too? Now you'll see here what you're looking at right here. So here's the one end. I paid a little bit more to have kind of like a bigger space. So I brought my own second table and expanded around the corner into like the main aisle, the main center aisle. So I got lots of foot traffic. In fact, I had 500 business cards made for the show. And I paid a little bit to have 200 business cards stuffed into the VIP bags. Of the remaining business cards, they all went. I got rid of all of them.
Nice.
Yeah, so a lot of traffic I had. And of course, these ones had QR codes for my site, which then from there has all my social links. So especially I, hyped up my Twitch, said I just hit affiliate, how I do Thursday morning coffee, Intellivision streams, and whatnot. So again, a lot of interest. A lot of people are like, oh, I never knew there even was a keyboard. What's cool too, I'll mention, both days, like on Saturday afternoon, there was a security guard came over, and he's like, "Oh wow, I grew up with Intellivision too," and he was on the clock. He couldn't really stop and talk, but he wanted to, which was pretty cool. We talked for about a minute. Then Sunday, just as the show ended at 5 o'clock, 3 security guards come over, and they were like, "Oh, hey, I had Intellivision. I grew up with that. I had I didn't have the ECS, the music synth hooked up, but I still had the ECS, the IntelliVoice. So I hooked up my keyboard again. I fired up World Series Major League Baseball. I still had the TV volume turned all the way up because I was competing with the loud music from earlier. So it was like at full blast, and of course you hear all the IntelliVoices. So yeah, that drew the attention of some of the security guards. Like, oh, I remember that. So yeah, a lot of people had very fond memories of the Intellivision.
Yeah, I do as well. It was my first console. I was
Oh
only
yeah,
5 when it came out. Let's see what you had here. I
oh
see you
yeah,
have the programming books. It looks like the regular and the advanced. You
yep,
have Intellivision Revolution banner, his new cards with the QR code. Is
yep.
that his cards? You're right. Yeah, on the left.
Yeah, those are his.
So you had a good selection of games on display as
Yeah,
well.
yep,
Breakout.
yep,
Is that Cosmic Avenger?
yep. Cosmic
DK2.
Adventure. Yep,
Fantasy. Match 5. Of course, Caverns of Mars, Clax, Yar's Revenge.
yep.
DK Arcade, Go Sub. I recently started playing Go Sub. I like that one.
It is fun. That's a simple, fun game. It's my kind of
Yeah,
game.
that's the best kind. You pick up and play, and it's really
Yep,
fun. And Omega Race. I can't. Oh, Rick Dynamite. That's one of my favorites.
yep.
I
Old
actually
school.
played. Yeah, actually, I was surprised. I play tested that way back, and I came back after almost 15 years from collecting or buying any homebrews, and I realized that it just came out. I'm like, wow, that's weird. It was a long cycle for that one.
Oh yeah.
So, what was the reception to the booth of? Were there any other Intellivision items there, or were you the only one?
I'm it. I'm it in that whole area. Now the only thing is, there was an Intellivision at the console museum free play
Uh-huh.
area. So what I did, Rev had graciously donated a box of cartridges. So I took some of those cartridges and donated them to the console museum, just so, because in 2019 they only had Donkey Kong. So I'd given them like Pitfall and I think Tron Deadly Discs. But yeah, this year I gave them a bunch more. So they, I hooked them up with. I gave them Demon Attack and Atlantis. So I had that going. Atlantis was good for like a tracked mode, or Demon Attack, either one.
Yeah, those are
So yeah,
both good ones.
So here on Saturday morning, here we are around the corner where I had the original hardware. So I had Fubar running it first. Then I know at one
And
point,
4-player mode.
yep, yeah, of course, 4 players.
So I see you have an original console, the
Yep,
ECS with 4 controllers hooked up, the
yep,
IntelliVoice, and an
yep.
LTO flash.
That's my LTO flash. Yep.
Fubar is one of the last homebrews that I needed, and you sold me that, and I really appreciate that.
Oh
I've got it
yes.
on the wall behind me. And at PRGE, I'm up to 3 people for sure. We're gonna have a 4-player Fubar session live, and we're working on that 4th person, but we'll get someone when we're there. I just know we have 3 people already: Papa Pete, myself, and I've got one other person that said they'll do it, and I haven't even asked anyone else. But there's going to be a bunch of us in that booth, so we'll get a 4th person, and we'll do that recording for you. I've got all my camera gears, tripods, everything ready to go to record that game. And then I'm also doing a live, I didn't talk about that in the news, but at PRG, I'm going to do a baseball tournament. For time constraint issues, we're probably going to do 3 innings. I haven't really decided yet. And the winner is going to get a homebrew of their choosing from the Intellivision booth. So that should be fun, draw some attention, maybe bring out some players, and hopefully that goes well. I like that idea. I thought about it last year, and I want to make it a reality this year. What's going on, C-Mart? C-Mart says Old School is an underrated gem. I haven't played that one.
Yeah, it's fun. It's another simple, fun game.
Yeah, C-Mart, of course, looking forward to hanging out with Casey at Portland and Feud It. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be so much fun. I've been excited. I haven't even slept some nights because I'm like all these things I have to do and bring and the drive and like just a whole weekend of just having fun and buying Intellivision stuff and hanging out with everyone, going to the dinners. I'm very excited. I look forward to it. I plan on going every single year, barring any kind of family emergencies. But yeah, man, it's a good time. I wish you could make that one, Michael. It'd be good to meet in person maybe someday.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not really much for travel.
Yeah, me as well. If I can't drive there, I don't like to fly. C-Mart says, Casey, you did just set up a tourney where you're most likely to win the first prize. I am not going to be in that tournament for the prize. If someone wants to challenge me to a game besides that tournament, I would love it. I've never been beat at baseball. I've played some of the best. This one is not for me to enter. This is for everyone else. Whoever wins that baseball tournament is going to get a homebrew. I won't be in it, so you guys all have a chance. Sean says, INTV fun. Yeah, it's going to be awesome to hang out with everyone this weekend. I'm very much looking forward to it, Sean. So let me see what else. Why don't you explain just a brief description of your game Fubar, so people that are looking at this, they might not know what it is.
Oh, yes. I remember one time somebody on Facebook called it Splatoon 79, and I said, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's the perfect, concise description you need right there.
Where is my Fubar?
So, yeah, so you can set up different teams or whatever. So all the different teams have a different color of paint. And you're all just competing to outpaint each other on the shared canvas before the time runs out. And then there's a lot of different game modes, but depending on the game mode, there's different points or like different amount of points for the percentage of the canvas that's your color, or maybe best team gets 100 points, or maybe worst team is out, things like that. And then, yep, and there it is. That's what it looks like. So you got a bunch of paintbrushes, and I like, because Rev had the idea to do like an ECS style box, and I said I like that a lot. Let's go with that.
Yeah, I like the ECS box, and I mean it is an ECS game.
Yeah, except you don't have to have the ECS, but
yeah,
it's enhanced by adding multiplayer, and it enhances the music.
Plus, that gives you the 4 players and also additional sound channels, right?
Yep. Yeah, enhances the music. Yep. And then plus also, Mark Thompson had done the manuals, and he did it in the ECS style also.
Oh, nice. You know what? I've got my copy and I opened it up from the one you sent me. I've never checked out inside yet. In fact, right now I was kind of panicking. I'm like, where'd it go?
Yep.
They're talking
about appreciate. Yeah.
They're talking about PRGE, and C-Mart says he's going to jump in the tournament. He's rusty. He didn't play me last year. He saw me annihilating everyone else and chickened out, but I know he's a good player. As long as we can find the cable, we'll be good. Salvador, I think I'll just spectate the PRG baseball tournament. Oh yeah, Salvador, you only have one hand still, right? He got injured just recently, and my wrist was sprained. So let me load up another picture here because I want to show a few more. I don't know how to show a slideshow with these. So basically what I had to do was open one up and then share that one. So I definitely need to learn how to do that. So I stop screen, present again, and that's kind of annoying, but it's better than not being able to show some of these because I actually messaged Michael. I seen him on Intellivision Dudes Live, and I said, hey, I was going to show the pictures and I was going to talk a little bit, just a couple words. I said, hey, are you available? It's like, come on and tell us about Retro Games Con. And he's like, he was available, and I really appreciate that. So it's kind of last minute, but I think it's a cool little segment to add because it literally just happened. I mean, it was Saturday, Sunday. So Chris C-Mart says, from building games for Rev or watching others build them. Oh, yeah. I can't wait to do that either. So Thursday, we're all going to be putting together the homebrews that they're going to be selling, and that was fun. Last year, I think I built 4 or 5 of my I put everything on them, the labels, put them all together, put them all inside, and then I had them all. I have a picture of me holding them all. So it was the first time ever I got to buy homebrews where I actually put them together. Yeah, Salvador says no right arm. Oh man, and you're probably right-handed as well. That makes it interesting. So what is this? Just one of the people walking by?
Oh yeah, yep. He was one of the people at the show. So yeah, some of the ones that had the really cool cosplays. I just got their okay to take a picture. So yeah, here he is in one of his Pokemon trainers, and he had these giant, plush dolls. And he came by my booth again on Sunday. I have an even better shot, which I did post a
I'll see
couple
if I
more at the
have that.
last minute.
I've got the next one up here, one of my favorite characters, and I love seeing the kids in there as well.
Oh yeah.
Mario.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, because that's not even a father and son. So he was coming by in his big oversized Mario hammer. So he was very interested. He looked at Donkey Kong. And then this kid just happened to be walking by with his mom, and they were both dressed up as Mario. So yeah, so the mom took a picture of the two of them together. I took a picture of the two of them together. It's very neat.
So I recognize his costume because while I'm older, my kids are young, and this is a Mario costume, but this guy pieced together that's a real pipe wrench he's got sitting there, it looks like anyway. And he has overalls. That's not a costume he just purchased. Maybe the hat, but he actually made that and put it together. That's pretty cool. So let me see if I have that other one of the same guy. I might have just put together, basic pictures of the different ones.
Now there was another one. I don't think I got a shot, but there was a family, a mom, a dad, and two kids, where the dad was Waluigi, the mom was Wario, and the kids were Mario and Luigi.
I didn't see that one in your pictures.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to stop them and get a picture, but yeah, so that one didn't make the cut. Oh yeah.
Now this lady's interesting.
Yes. So yeah, this girl had a original iMac on her head.
And that's an actual gutted iMac, right?
Yep. Yeah, because see, back in I think 1999, there was a Winamp skin with somebody did looked like an anime girl with made to look like an iMac at the time. But I'm sure I can probably
never seen anything like that.
Yeah, so iGirl it was called. So
iGirl, okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So here we have a Mario in the Mario Kart.
Yeah, this dude was riding around in that cart the whole time.
Yeah, I've seen those electric carts. My kids wanted them. I'm like, I think you're too big for that. But apparently they're not because he's in it.
Yeah, here he is, young adult. He was in it. He was riding around. He even had a tail light.
I think I had. Oh, I didn't put it on the. Oh yeah. I have one more picture of the cart, and here's another guy that went all out. Let's get one more picture in here.
Oh yeah.
I love seeing. So is this a yearly GameCon?
It is. Well, twice a year, because they also now started doing a Retro GameCon Junior in May.
Okay.
And that's a one-day event. Oh yeah, so the Ghostbuster, and he just bought a Coleco Donkey Kong mini arcade.
Yeah, when I first looked at it, I'm like, well, that doesn't really go. And then I realized he's probably just purchasing things.
Oh, of course, but hey, I'm sure Ray would have had that back in the fire station back in the day.
We got one more here. I know there's got to be an easier way to share a group of pictures, but this will work for this show. This is a couple walking by?
Yeah. So she was sitting down playing the keyboard for a while. But yeah, then I took a picture of the two of them. Because, a lot of people stopped and played the keyboard for one fellow was at my, booth for a good, over a half hour just playing. And it was good, good PR. A lot of kids, whatnot. Some of them actually knew, a few of them started playing Beethoven's Für Elise.
So they could actually play.
Yeah, some of the kids actually played, which was neat. And also, like Sunday morning, what I started doing was I was, finally had the presence of mind to sit down and start playing myself, which then, of course, I can play really well. I took piano lessons for 11 years. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah. So, of course, I had no problem. I just started playing. And then that and one of the show organizers, he goes around doing video, for PR. So he happened to come by and started shooting a video recording of me actually playing. So as soon as I see that go live, I'll share that.
Share it. Yeah. That's it. I'm thinking about it. It's like the keyboard is like the one thing I think on Intellivision I've never tried. And I've never
Yeah.
tried Melody Blaster. I mean, I had a lot of them, the brown one, the matches, the RECS. I had them all,
Oh yeah.
but I've never played it. And I don't know how to
Ah.
play piano, but I type really fast.
Yeah.
I've always
Not
wanted
on
to try it.
not an ECS keyboard.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen you in game chat. You were typing on an ECS keyboard. Why don't you tell us about that?
No, that was me trolling. I wasn't really typing with that.
It's because I saw you typing on it, and I thought you had it connected, and you were I'm like, how did you do that? I meant to message you, and I forgot. That just
Well,
reminded me.
that was kind of like a throwback. Remember when Deckel did that one April Fool's joke where he said
Yep.
he had his keyboard component hooked up to Atari Age?
Yep.
Basically, it was a throwback to that.
C-Mart says Rev's taking advantage of sweatshop labor conditions. Yeah, he has all of us helping, but I think most all of us enjoy it.
Oh yeah,
Salvador
it's a labor of love.
Yeah, I mean, we're all one big community. It's I find it fun to do it and help out. Portland fun fact, if you're looking for a liquor store, you may have to drive. If you're looking for a dispensary, there's always one within walking distance. And Salvador only has one hand for this trip. Super Mega Graphics, I wish I could make it up there with everyone, but I want to say how much I personally appreciate everyone and how well all can come together to share our love for this stuff. Y'all rock. It really is. I mean, I would love to go to stuff on the East Coast, but there's no way. My wife gets mad. I'm gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's the only time I'm away from my family all year. Any other trip, they're all with me. I just don't go anywhere. But this is like the one thing. Maybe when my kids are older, we can all go. I don't know. But right now, this is my thing. GameStar, what is going on? Welcome. Hopefully, Intellivision dude's not missing you right now. He'll be mad at me. I stole his viewer.
I'm sure he should be here.
He should be, but he likes to stream other things. He won't stream Intellivision, but he'll watch later. But he doesn't, I don't know. He just doesn't like the live thing. So anything else you want to bring up or that we failed to mention about Retro Gamescom?
Well, the one thing I was going to mention, well, first of all, so I was with, there's a guy on Twitch, and I'll just put a free plug for him. So he goes by the handle Jack Attack DX, and he's a big retro streamer on Twitch. So, and he lives in the area. So he and I shared a room last year and this year. And so, sorry, I got Russell's cat here. Anyway, so he had his own booth over in the dev area, even though it was just like for Twitch streaming. But and then he and his cousin, I think it was also in the room. But Saturday night, I told him that 20 years ago, before I got married and after I started working full time, and I was just buying up everything I could to kind of like fill out my game collection. And I bought a ton of NES games, and I told them one NES game I've never ever seen was Ultima Warriors of Destiny. And then on Sunday, I was sitting down, I was demoing the music synth to somebody, and he comes by and said, "Hey, guess what? I finally found an original copy of Mega Man 1 for NES." And he was all excited because he said, he's been trying to find that for a long time. And he said, "Guess what else? They had a copy of Ultima Warriors of Destiny." I was like, "Dude, how much?" So, I gave him the cash. He went and got it for me. So it's like, I finally have a copy of Ultima Warriors of Destiny for NES. And I've never, ever seen it.
I've never even heard of that game. NES was my second console, and I do collect for it. But, I mean, with all this Intellivision stuff I buy, not really feasible to go after NES yet, but I
Yeah.
have a good amount, maybe like 100 with 30 box games complete in box and several consoles, controllers, things. But I need to go a little more, but I just haven't got around to it yet. There's only so much money and time in the
Oh yeah.
day. So
Yeah. So the three Ultimate games, you had Exodus. Oh, Exodus was the first one, and that was actually part 3 in the series. Then Quest for the Avatar was part 4, and then Warriors of Destiny was part 5. But those are the three that were put out for NES.
huh. Yeah, I didn't really play that type of game when I was a kid. I was 9, I think, when NES came out, 5 when
Hmm.
Intellivision came out. So I pretty much played like all the first party stuff. I mean, we had a lot of
Yeah.
games, but it's still to this day, the only RPG I've ever played all the way through is Zelda, the very first
Hmm.
one. I've never played any other Zelda game. I think they're great. I just
Yeah.
don't have the time. So,
Then,
any final thoughts on or other things to bring up for Retro Game Con, or
well,
maybe
what I was
when
gonna
is the next one? Do they already know?
well, again, Retro GameCon Junior should be next May. Um,
Okay.
but now also, some people know, some don't. Oh, cat hair, sorry. Um, Local to me, there's going to be another con next month called LilCon 7. So, um, at LilCon 7, I'm actually going to be hosting a FUBAR tournament. And, I'm also going to bring some GameCube stuff just for the fun of it. So that'll be going on. Now, one thing too, I realized is a lot of people see some of the people come back year after year and they say, your Intellivision booth gets more impressive every time. Of course, a lot of people were really wowed by the music sense. Um, the only thing is, of course, a lot of people don't have an Intellivision and couldn't buy anything. But I realized some of them would have supported it in some way. So I had this idea because I had that free play console museum. What I should do going forward is have a donation jar. So say it's, once there's enough money in the donation jar, I could then sort of like buy a game and then donate it to the free play museum.
Yeah, that would be
Because
cool.
that would be, because I'm sure they would love to have, more than just some of the, loose copies of the originals. Um, So I'll probably do that going forward. Maybe at LoCon too. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, every time you go, you learn a little bit from the last one and you're a little more prepared, or this
Yeah,
would be a cool idea, or the more you do it, the better you get. It's pretty much with anything, but it's great. I really enjoy seeing you at the show where there's no other in television and you're putting it out
right.
there, and getting, showing off the games, showing off what things can do. And it's great to see because without you there would be no in television at that con.
That's right. Yeah. Again, I'm it. Um,
Yeah.
and again, last year, that free play console was, they forgot the Intellivision.
Oh, wow.
So if it wasn't for me, there would have been no Intellivision at all.
Whew.
And
So,
again, the guy up the aisle from me, if he said if it wasn't for him, there was no Aquarius. Even the computer part of the free play museum didn't have had every computer but the Aquarius.
wow, and that one's a little more niche than Intellivision
Yeah.
is, but still, you got to have them all if you're gonna display
Oh,
them.
yes.
Are
Well,
you?
plus, you want the Aquarius peripherals for the ECS if you're, going to go for completion.
I have a decent collection for Aquarius, but again, I haven't went down that rabbit hole for the rare stuff yet. But
Hmm.
all the basic stuff I've got covered. But I need to eventually
Yeah.
start. Now that I've got the 125, I'm completely caught up, minus 2 homebrews. Um, I'm just keeping up, not catching up. So it's going to be easier for me to go and get those other things. Like this year, I don't. Well, besides buying all the Intellivision games, I'm going to be able to focus a little more on other things that I can maybe pick up. But are you set up? We're going to get all the guys in the background. They're ready to go for the game challenge. Are you set up at all where you can just turn the phone and do a game challenge with us, or
Well,
not yet?
my phone, huh? Hmm.
Or whatever you're going to do, you can do if you have a game capture device, you can use that too. I didn't know if you were set up. I would have already talked to you about it, but I literally asked you on my drive home if you could come on and tell us about the game con.
I
We're
do
going
have
to do
I have my tablet behind me. I could put on my PIDE and start playing.
We're gonna play Stampede because for the game challenge, we're gonna do one every show. I want to do a poll and then put up a bunch of shorter games and let everyone in chat and all the people playing vote on it. So, but this time I was like, I didn't have time to get it in, and I spent all my free time getting all your pictures because I really thought that people would like to hear about where you went this weekend and see some pictures. So
Certainly. Okay.
I figured this time we'll just do, and I need to learn how to do the poll. I think I have to do it from the YouTube app.
Here we are.
I'm in StreamYard.
Let me
So
see if I
guys
can-
playing in the game challenge, we're gonna get that loaded up. Load up Stampede.
Can I do this? Let's see. Settings.
And
Okay.
then we're gonna do a game challenge quick, and then we're gonna have our interview with Caleb Garner of 8-Bit Widgets.
Facing back. Let's see what this button does. Here we are. All right. Let's see.
Get that a little closer. Everyone get Stampede loaded up. We'll do like the 3, 2, 1, and then I'll get everyone in here.
Yeah, this is a bit awkward here. I'm on my desk. Just a sec.
It's gonna go to a small screen. There's gonna be like 6 of us, so just get it best you can, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Let me get mine. Where is Stampede? Stampede's a nice, quick, and easy.
Oh, so we're doing Stampede first?
Yeah, we're gonna do Stampede. 1 game per show.
All right. Let's see. Okay,
It'll work.
Yeah, this is gonna get funky. Let's see.
You didn't have much time to get ready.
That's all right. I don't mind doing impromptu stuff like this.
Waiting on the guys in the back. Everyone ready, guys? Give me thumbs up. All right. We got a second. Last person's getting Stampede loaded up. I see Stampede on 4 of the 5 screens. Almost ready to go here.
Okay. Yeah, it's fugly, but it's working.
We'll just go over the scores. So let me get everyone in here. Oh, someone left. Who left? Oh, Kurt left. I'm going to bring you guys in. Welcome, PJ Smith. Welcome, TV's Hasselhoff. You guys have seen these guys in chat. They are going to be playing with us today. Right. Michael Hayes is here. Welcome, Kurt Bradshaw, another chat guy who is going to be playing with us. And waiting on one more here. A few other people invited. They just weren't able to make it today. I'm going to stay on camera here until we start. We're going to do... Let me see here first. We'll do game 1 slow cows whenever we do it. Don't think that's easy, because this game does not last long. It gets hard fast. Maybe we got a pro player in the house, but that won't be me on this one.
All right. I think that's the best we're going to do right now.
That'll work.
All right.
Are you ready, Caleb? Caleb might not have had the game here. I'm going to wait, and then we'll get started. Okay. Well, then hold tight for a quick second, and then we'll get started.
All right.
All right. So here we go with only 5. We got time. This don't take long.
Yeah, this won't take long. Not with me playing, it won't.
Let's see here. Let me go this way. So who wants to go first? Michael Hayes?
Sure. What are we doing?
Go ahead and play game 1.
Game 1. It's on.
Slow cows.
Whoops. Hold on. Let me get the... Oh, you know what? Let me just bounce out of here to get the volume.
We'll do it this way today, guys, since we only have
a few of us. You know what? Let me just bounce out of here to get the
That way we can watch people play.
Then we have, let me just bounce out of here to get the that way we can watch people play.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay.
I got to hear what I sound like.
Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, I had to shut off the playback on the tablet to stop that loop from happening. Let me know if there's a loop.
It's working.
Okay.
There we go. Michael Hayes first up on Stampede. Maybe I did a mistake doing slow cows.
I was going to say, normally I play game 3.
I guess I forgot. I thought I did this one, but maybe it was 3.
Well, I can start it again on 3 if you like.
Yeah, start again on 3, because if it's this slow, this long, I'm going to last forever as well.
Oh, yeah.
You can play all at once?
Yeah, we can, but there's only a few of us, and we're not short on time unless you guys need to hurry.
Well, I had the presence of mind to take tonight off, so I'm not going anywhere. I'll be up all night assembling boxes anyhow.
We can do this then. I guess we might as well try this.
Ah!
Let's go ahead, guys. And then just leave it on your final score screen. Go ahead and do game 3. I'm going to go ahead and flip over because I want to participate in this as well. Game 3, Fast Cows. Woo! We'll compare the scores at the end. Oh! I already died. Boy, that was a fast game, wasn't it? Oh. Hey, don't come off your screen. We got to see the scores. Hasselhoff did a warm-up game, apparently.
Oh, we can do warm-up games? Aw.
No, we didn't.
I like Hasselhoff's style.
That was like my shortest game ever, but I still beat a couple of you guys.
I'm so bad at this game.
Michael Hayes,
Nope.
are you on the fast count?
Nope, that's didn't even make a grand.
Yep, I think you're the winner of this one because we all didn't get to 100.
You think?
Really? Oh, well.
Oh, wait, I have faith. Hoff's going to come by. Well, that was fun.
Walking up.
Kurt did better on his second game, but Kurt, was that your first game or second one?
By my 5th.
What?
I lost so fast I couldn't even.
Fast
Yeah,
cows.
that was
Yep.
rough for us. Michael Hayes, big winner here.
Hey.
Congrats, Michael. So we'll have to do one next time. We'll have the chat. Like I said, we'll do a poll and we'll vote and we'll.
I nominate Worm
again.
Whopper for the poll.
Yeah, Worm Whopper. That'd be a good one too. So thank you guys for doing the game challenge. That was definitely a little shorter than I thought, but
Thanks, Casey. Thanks, Michael.
still fun.
Sure.
So next up, guys, we have an interview with Caleb Garner, which is 8-Bit Widgets, and he does all the couplers and more. And we will give him a quick second, and then we'll get started with the interview. Thank you, Michael, for coming on last minute and
Sure.
telling us about Retro Games Con, and thank you for participating in the game challenge. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to help.
All right. Thank you, guys. All right. So are you ready, Caleb? All right, guys. Here we're going to welcome Caleb Garner of 8-Bit Widgets. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. So let's see here. Up here. For those of them that do not know who you are, why don't you give yourself a quick introduction and let's let everyone know who you are, what you do. Just a brief one because we're going to go over everything as well.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so my name's Caleb, and I've just been I basically got into doing these couplers, and I don't know, I guess it's been a few years ago, maybe COVID era, maybe a little bit before that, is when I really kind of discovered the whole homebrew scene. I didn't even know that it was a thing. It just kind of blew my mind. It's like, I was like, oh my God, people are still making games. So I've completely missed decades of retro gaming that I didn't realize was a thing. And I think for me, it was sort of, I don't think I really thought about getting into actually kind of collecting systems. And again, until the idea of the multi-cart came along. I always think I found the idea of actually collecting, like how you have your collections. I was like, I couldn't see myself having the space or the means to get so many. But when I realized you could fit like tons of games on a single cartridge and just leave that in there all the time, but still play on the original system, was just like, oh, that's it. You know, I think the first one I actually got was the Nintendo, the NES, one of the, like, it was probably like 800 games in one. And I think that's kind of what started it. Then I'm like, wait a minute. Did they, I got an Intellivision. Actually, I got an Intellivision almost accidentally because I bought a Coleco and the guy had, like, I had an old Sears Telegame, which is the one I had. That was my first system. So anyway, so I mean, yeah. So anyway, I guess I've just been, I'm kind of rambling, but anyway, just it's, yeah. So I've just been really excited about the whole community aspect of it, and with social media and everything, the way Facebook is, that so many people in the Atari age and stuff are out there that we could all get together and, you know, meet all these great people that, you know, love this stuff as much as I do.
Yeah, that's the community. It's all, half of it's about the community, the love of games, the community. I mean, it's great. So, what consoles did you have growing up? Like, what was your first?
Yeah, you know, I'm still trying to kind of figure it out, but you know, we originally had a Pong system of some kind, and I'm pretty sure, I think I know which one it was, but there were so many back then, and my memory is so hazy because, yeah, you know, like I said, I was born in '74, so I was 4 or 5 years old probably when we had that console. But the first, well, that wasn't a console, but, you know, game electronic system, and I loved it, but it was obviously so simplistic, you know. But then we got the Intellivision, and that's really what my dad decided to get us, and I'm really glad he did, because I love the 2600, obviously, you know, in its own right, but boy, it's just like, I just loved the controller. The possibilities were so great with the Intellivision controller compared to the 2600. So I found this single fire button and a joystick was like, that's all you could do. You can do so much more with the Intellivision because of all those buttons, you know, B-17 Bomber and all these great games that could you know, just take advantage of that. So Tron Deadly Discs, and, you know, it was just, all that stuff was just so cool. So yeah, so I was really into the Intellivision. I remember playing like Space Armada, you know, and I woke my mom up like in the middle of the night because I finally got to the black level where everything's invisible, and I was just like, I think I might even beat it and looped it around at that point. Like I'd only done it, and I was like probably, I don't know, 1 a.m. I was up that late as a 7 or 8 year old playing this game. So so yeah, it was definitely the great, you know, first great system for me. And I didn't have a Coleco. I knew a kid who did down the street, and, you know, it was an awesome system in its own right. But the Intellivision was really my baby until we got a Nintendo, you know, right? Like a lot of kids.
Your story sounds very similar to mine. I was born in '75. First, I didn't have a Pong unit until later. Got the NES. A guy that my dad works with, a coworker, bought it when it was new. Video game, you know, this was new, so he got it. Video games weren't his thing. Sold it right away to my dad. He brought it home. So we had a few games. I know I was only like 5. And then that's how I started. And NES was my second one as well. So very, very similar. Are you a collector at all, or just kind of get where you play?
So I've been kind of like, and again, last couple of years, I guess I became a system collector more than a cartridge, any one system. So I pretty much have like 14 or 15 game systems now. I think I pretty much have all the 8-bit systems other than like a Channel F, which is really cool system. And if one came along, it'd be kind of cool, but I never even saw one. I didn't know that thing even existed until like in the last year or two.
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of like, it's all right, I can live with that. But I just got a 7800. I just got a 5200. I have a six, was it called, the heavy sixer for the 2600. I need to get all of those composite modded though. There's a guy, Crystal Ivory Tower.
Jesse.
He does that stuff. And I have a local electronic repair guy that I've had all my other consoles modded by, but I kind of felt like, you know what? He's not much more expensive than this guy, who is also, it was reasonable between, the shipping aside. It was like, this is basically not much more, probably $20, $30 more per unit to have somebody do it who actually knows these systems intimately versus my guy who was kind of like, you hope he does it right. So
that guy Jesse, he does all of Atari Age consoles that you'll see at PRGE. He's done
really?
all of them, I believe, and
That's
he's
awesome.
Who I contacted because Steve Jones of Steve Jones Box Company does a lot of Intellivision and other boxes. He used him as well, and I reached out to him. I've been chatting with him now and then. He's actually going to come on and do an interview at some point after PRGE and tell everyone about the service. So those of you guys watching today, definitely be on the lookout for that. That's definitely going to be a cool thing, to get he doesn't only do the mods, he also can repair them, which, that could be huge.
Well, and that's kind of what I'm thinking too, is to basically have him actually maybe take a look inside. They all work. I got a really good deal on all 3 systems. Probably paid $50 or $60 for the 7800 and the 2600. And then I think it was like 120 for the 5200, but the controllers are in great shape. I mean, the buttons are a little not responsive, but they all respond. You know what I'm saying? They're probably all needed cleaning. So at some point I'll need to open those up and give them a little servicing. But I figured if this guy could take a look at them while he's in there, kind of under the hood, and if he spots a sketchy capacitor, by all means, I would be happy to, have that fixed while it's there, so I could just never mess with it again.
Yeah, he says, sometimes it's just by usage. They all have so many hours, and he can see that, we better replace those, and they'll be good for a lot of years if he does that. So if I'm going to send him one new one and one used Intellivision 2. I might even send him one of my new Intellivision 2s. And, if he sees that they need it, I'm going to get it done, get whatever, because all the shipping and doing it back and forth, I want them to be good for a long time. I don't want to do this mod and then like my capacitors go out or something, Gotta send it back again.
Absolutely.
So that'll definitely be cool. So what else do you have in your? But are you more of you get these consoles because you want to play the games, or are you collecting them?
Well, it was really a little bit of both. So I did game development professionally for about 10 years, and I just about like in 2019 decided to get back into IT. It just was like I was kind of working freelance, hand to mouth, and just decided it was here in Boston where I'm at. It was just kind of felt like the game scene was gradually kind of drying out, and just a lot of the opportunities were kind of going away. When I first moved here in like 2011, there was a lot of really great stuff going on. The indie community was thriving. There were a lot of brick and mortar studios here. But after 2012, 2013, a lot of them started shuttering, and it just kind of became just gradually a slow process. We were finally, like, my partner and I kind of decided, it was like, he got a job as a programmer, and I found, a job doing IT stuff. And but I still do game development. I do a lot of the website I made, I built that with Construct 3. So it's basically a video game website. Like the whole thing is a game engine. So
that's pretty cool.
We're going to show that. Do some of the fun stuff with it.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool website. We're going to show that here in a bit. What else did I see? So what other gaming products interest you? I mean, I know you have retro gaming stuff and certain games. What products interest you game-wise? Are you into VR? Are you into
actually my son.
simulation?
Yeah, let's see. Well, we have 3 Quest 2s currently. We'll probably get a Quest 3 for my son's birthday coming up in November. He's 11. He's turning 12, and he's really into it. He's gotten into it even more than I have, and I really do. I think the Quest 2 is really an impressive piece of hardware. I think it finally felt like I know it's certainly not as good as maybe like some of the high-end VR options out there, but for the price point, for what it can do for the money, and the fact that it's completely wireless was like really, like, this is a great VR headset. You know, I don't have a cable going to my PC. I don't have to buy a $2,000 PC to drive, you know, the better graphics and stuff. So,
and you can take it over to someone's house.
What's that?
You can take it over to someone's house.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really, it's just the portability is really nice, and I think that's just nice. And again, maybe it's not the greatest VR experiences out there, but honestly, I think there's enough of them out there that I've really been able to enjoy what that can do. I've even gotten into learning one's called Gravity Sketch, which is actually a virtual sculpting program, and I've never been good at 3D modeling in the traditional sense with like Blender or Maya or Max or any of those programs. I always felt like they're very, very complex programs to figure out and weren't a lot of fun. Like, I felt like it took me a lot of work just to get any results. And I tend to be kind of like, I need quick feedback on my results. And so sometimes it can be like, that's why I like Construct, for example. It was a game engine that I could learn very quickly and start making things happen, as opposed to spending months learning principles and foundational things before I could really do anything with any sense of confidence or competence. So with the Gravity Sketch was a really cool program because it would let me actually sculpt things in 3D with my hands, which is just much more organic than trying to use a 2D screen and with the port views and everything. So I'm looking forward to getting more into that. So that's that. But as far as as far as consoles and my interest, it's like, I mean, so of course we all love, I think, all vintage technology. I think that's pretty safe to say for everyone here. But, you know, I was an Amiga guy back in the 90s. I was a holdout long after a lot of guys had moved on to PC and stuff. But I always wanted a video toaster when I was like in that age. In my young age, I really thought I wanted to get into 3D modeling and animation. And, you know, life just sort of, I joined the military and life moves on and all that kind of stuff. And that just never really presented itself as a path for me at the time. But now I'm like, I have a video toaster. I can learn Lightwave 3D. And I'm like, why should I learn a modern program? Why don't I just learn the software I always wanted to learn when I was younger? But now you got things like emulation, where you can run Amiga emulation on a PC, and you can do what's called JIT, or just in time. So in other words, it could be incredibly fast. So you could have an emulator on an Amiga running inside of a high-end PC that can calculate rendering way faster than anything back in the day could. So rather than spending weeks rendering out these animations, you could do them probably in minutes or hours, and have the kind of animations that were possible back then. And I kind of like the constraints also, some of the limitations. Sometimes having limitless possibilities is kind of a problem for me. You know, sometimes it's just nice to know you can only do so many things with what you've got, which is also kind of why the whole homebrew development thing's been so fascinating. It's like, I never would have dreamed of learning assembly. And I'm just starting, so don't get me wrong. I feel like I still have my work cut out for me. But just the idea that working with a system that only has, say, 8 sprites, you know, only has 3 voices. This feels like there's a balance there of, okay, yes, it's a deep language and it can be complicated, but you're also not able to just instantiate as many things as you want. You have certain parameters, limited colors, limited resolution. So those limitations offer a constraint, which I enjoy. I think it helps kind of bring out creativity.
So fast forward to, what gave you the idea of the couplers? Where did it start? You know, talk about the progression of them and tell us a little bit about, so some people might not even know what the couplers are.
Yeah. So I can try and show real quick. I'm trying to miss.
I've got one handy.
Okay, cool. That's for the Coleco. But since this is an Intellivision focusing, I am going to unplug these real quick. 1 second. So the original story was that the first coupler I made was for the Intellivision, and the reason why was because I had learned that, and a lot of people you all know, is that games like Tron Deadly Discs, Night Stalker, these games would utilize the shooting of the number pad and then the movement of the disc. But the problem, as you all know, is that when you press the buttons, it would interrupt the disc movement. It caused a little bit of a hiccup. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, again, one of the OG survival horror game, and so, but the problem is that you can't move and shoot at the same time without that little bit of a hiccup. But then someone had mentioned that, if you use the number pad of the second controller and the disc of the first controller, they won't conflict, that you can actually move and shoot smoothly. And then I thought, and I just kind of gotten into 3D printing. And the first big project I had done for myself when I was just my first junk 3D printer was I wanted to make a patch panel for my whole game system, where rather than having and I've got some videos out on my channel probably and stuff, but basically I have a patch panel where all of the controllers have extension cables going behind the television set back to this patch panel, so that I could, rather than having cables dangling all over the place from systems that are above and below and everything and not reaching because they're too short, I could actually make this panel right underneath the television set that I could just plug in the game system of choice into there. And then I've got an Extron video switcher above, which lets me flip between all the different games. It's a 16, input composite switcher. So anyway, so the coupler basic. So when I heard that this was possible, that you could use the controllers, I was like, well, you can't hold the two, like if you're doing this, right? You got these two joint, these control, and you could technically kind of do it where you press the buttons of one and you're pressing the disc of the other, but that's a little bit unwieldy, I thought. Not a really good way to play reliably. So I thought, well, what if, there's that space here behind the recess inside the back of these controllers, and I realized maybe I could make something, a 3D printed piece that would sort of, wedge itself inside this the space here, and then I could clip the two together and kind of put them side by side. So I came up with this guy, which is basically a coupler that you just sort of take the two pieces, and without any damage or any fancy clips or anything, it essentially will snap into place. You just kind of squeeze it in, and friction is what's holding it in place there. So now you have this sort of controller where you can actually like push there you go, push the disc with one and shoot with the other, and it's really quite cool. If you haven't tried it, it really is a game changer. I know it's my own product, like I'm tooting my own horn here, but when you can play Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and run away from a demon while shooting at it smoothly, it is a whole different game. I always played the game on the most difficult level, so of course the demons are flying at you when they're coming at you, and all the creatures. So the fact that you can just do that run and smoothly shoot is really cool. Night Stalker, not as much, because Night Stalker really is more of a game where you kind of stand, position, and time your shot. But it's still nice to be able to just be running away and shooting at the guy, and not have that restriction. And Discs of Tron, Tron Deadly Discs, is definitely great, because when all those guys are moving around and they're shooting the discs at you, it's so nice to just keep moving and shoot. So I came up with this one, but then I was perfectly content with that. Like, that was it. My mission's accomplished and I'm done. And I didn't really even think I'd make them for anyone else or sell them or anything. But then I thought maybe somebody might want one, and no big deal. But then someone mentioned to me, in the Atari Age forum, he's like, there's Berserk for the 2600, and of course, not Berserk, Robotron. I'm like, Robotron? Oh wow, they made Robotron for the 2600, and he uses both joysticks. I'm surprised. And they're like, yeah, and apparently there were actual couplers that could be bought with some of the systems. The 5200 Robotron and the 7800 both had couplers as well. And my designs, well, they don't copy mine's kind of similar to the 7800, but it's still my own design. I just basically started from scratch. In fact, I didn't own a 7800 at the time, and a guy actually mailed me his controllers so that I could use his to test against. And I measured his and did all the shapes and sizes and stuff. And then, and then from there, I was able to basically model it. And then I just mailed back the controllers along with the coupler for him. And I kind of figured, just, you're buying the coupler, I'll just make it for you. And that's just, and I can sell them after that. So it's a win-win there. So, so it kind of just branched out from there. Then I started learning that the Coleco had some games, like it had Crazy Climber had just come out at the time. And there's also a Robotron apparently that was made for the Coleco as well that uses both joysticks. And so it kind of progressed from there. I just kind of started looking at what systems actually use controllers. The NES has Smash TV, which is again a great way to play it. Where you can even do it. I've actually got it. If you have the 4-player controller splitter, you can actually play that game with 4 controllers, each paired off, so that you're using the D-pad and the shooting, for movement and shooting, for all 4 controls for a 2-player game. And it's great. It's so cool. And it feels so much better when you're able to just hold it as one solid one solid controller. It just feels much better.
So for the Intellivision, it branches off into 3, because at first,
right?
Were you aware that they were different sizes, or?
Yeah. So basically, what it was is I actually so I originally made the original one for the original 2609 style controller, which of course also is the Sears. I think it's pronounced the Tandy. It's all of the original systems other than the Flashback, which was its own, and then the Intellivision 2. So as far as OG hardware, you have essentially 2 couplers. One that's specifically for the Intellivision 2, because that controller was so different. and then you have one that works with all of the original style controllers, because while the color might change, like this, the plastic is all the same shape. It's just a color difference they made for the Sears one. And I'm partial to the Sears one because that's the one I had as a kid, but also because it had the removable controllers and the DB9 ports, which I needed for my patch panel. I needed, you know, I know you can. There are aftermarkets like Cody Gamers makes some sort of a board, or I think they're out of stock right now, but I'm sure they'll have them again. But they're basically a little conversion kit that you stick it in under the hood of the your 2609 or your Tandy Vision and such, and it gives you DB9 ports inside there. So, which is really cool.
So what if we show some of these off on the website?
Sure. Yeah. That's cool.
I've learned from the last one that I don't have an easy way to cycle through pictures, but your website, we can talk about them, and your website has all the pictures on there.
That's no problem. Yeah, that's great.
So let me get here. So kind of a cool website. I've never seen anything like it. It looks like you're in, an old school TV. Now, I'm not sure if this does it justice, if it looks the same, but we're going to enter in. It's got a curvature to it.
Yeah, you can I think it comes through pretty good, actually. The bowing effect, you see it.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, also, one of the things I had to realize, though, is if some people go to the website and it doesn't look like it has the CRT effect, I actually had to add a sort of an FPS counter, because I found out that like my work computer does not have any kind of GPU to speak of. Even though it's like an i5 of a decent CPU, it still just it's trash for high resolution stuff. So if you see it look kind of flat, it'll basically disable all of those CRT effects, and that improves the frame rate and the responsiveness of the website. So yeah, that's one thing you might notice if you're on your work computer and it doesn't look all fancy. That's why. So yeah, you can see here, these are the list of games that I'm aware of, and there might be games that I don't know about, but I think it's fairly comprehensive at this point. I still have to play Microsurgeon with it, but I heard that this Microsurgeon supported that, so I was like, well, that's cool. That's the Intellivision, and those actually, I don't own an Intellivision 2 nor the controllers, but I actually got a pair sent to me by, and it was really cool they got those. So I was able to take that and test them and develop it, and it actually works really well. It was me. It was you. I was going to say, it's so funny that I see you now. It's like, you're Casey, right? I'm thinking, Casey, is this Casey I'm thinking of? Yeah. So I'm still getting used to seeing you as a person as opposed to, a username on a forum. So because he sent me those, which was very cool of him, I was able to develop those. And so I still use those to test when I make new ones. So this is
at the time.
What's that?
At the time, I said I wish I would have sent you one that was, not missing the disc. But at the time, it was like, oh, it doesn't matter if they work or not. It's just for getting the dimensions. And then I see a picture. I'm like, oh, I wish I just would have sent one that was complete.
I haven't gotten around to it. At some point, I probably will 3D print a little black disc just to stick in there and take a better picture, right? Just to fool the camera. But but it's good. But yeah, so there's that, and so this brings
us to the next evolution.
Right. These are the adapter cables that basically let people who have flashback 2014 era controllers work with the original Intellivision systems. I learned that was possible, and I know there was a guy who was actually making them, and the reason why I even made these is because he stopped making them. It was an Intellivision. Which guy is that?
Paul from Intellivisionaries.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, he used to make them, and I was actually just going to buy some of his. It wasn't really my intention to make these. But then I was like, well, I don't want to get into soldering and a lot of that other stuff. So I decided to use this different approach where I have like a solderless connector inside the enclosure there. And I just sort of do it that way. And I made it for myself and I was happy with it. It worked. And I was like, well, if anyone else would like these, since he's not making them anymore, I might as well offer them to people who still have the same need I do. So I started producing these as well. And there's another one for the Odyssey I made. This looks very similar, except that it lets 2600 joysticks work with the Odyssey.
Man, and I'm not. We talked about it. I can't remember if I bought that one, but I definitely need to if I didn't. But look at this. Well, Salvador says he uses a coupler to play both islands simultaneously in Utopia.
Oh, wow.
So you have both controllers right there, and you don't have them.
That's a really cool. I had never even thought of doing that. Right?
Yeah, I didn't either.
And that's still one of those games that sadly I haven't really played enough because unfortunately there's no one to play with. It's just basically being lonesome. My kids, I originally got into a lot of this stuff thinking they'd really get into it, but the reality is that my younger son likes VR, my older son likes Minecraft, and that's good enough for them,
So there are, I believe Utopia 2 is in the works, and I believe it will have a one-player option as well. So that would be really cool if they do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would love to check that out because I love the idea that it's like kind of the original sim, sim
Original
game,
strategy game.
Yeah, I love that. That's so cool.
I had as a kid, I played a lot, but I never could get any other kid that really knew what they were doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you're playing against someone that knows how to play.
Right.
It's not a lot of fun. Yeah, the little kid, the other friend, your friends lose interest whenever you pound on them.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's go back. Flashback cables.
And that is the thing too back to the coupler of Intellivision for these guys, just because I want to say that. So yeah, so when I originally made the 2609 coupler for the Intellivision, I could notice that the flashback, as close a replica as it is, it was slightly looser than the 2600 the way it would fit inside of it. And initially, to me, it was good enough. Like, it definitely stayed together. It wasn't like it fell out, but I could you could shake it and it would detach. And so after I forget that, is it DLC Games or
DJC Game Studios?
DJC, thank you. Yeah, DJC Studios. Yeah, he did a review of it. It was really cool. I mean, he bought it. It wasn't like he was trying to get a free one. He was cool. He bought it. He reviewed it, gave an honest review. He had great feedback. And initially, it was the only one I made. And he pointed out that he was hooking up to the flashback, and it was a little loose to him. And I think once I heard somebody else experience that, I was like, okay, you know what? It's valid point. I should really go back and look at it again and make one specifically for each one. And that's what I did. I basically had to make it just a little bit thicker, like probably a millimeter thicker is all it took to go from being loose to tight and not being so tight that you have to like wedge it on. So thankfully, the printers I was using were precise enough that I could achieve that subtle difference and it make all the difference.
So for those of us that have them and say you're using them and they do get a little bit loose, or they have the one that's what's the trick? Because I remember you told me about it. The trick to tighten it up.
The easiest thing to do, if it does feel a little loose, you'd like it to be more snug, is just take a piece of like electrical tape. Simple electrical tape, or one wrap around it even, if you don't want it to come off, but however you like. But basically, that should be all it takes. Just giving that little bit of extra rubber, cushy grip should help it really just stay that much more snug. I use mine a lot. I don't use tape with mine anymore. I think especially that was also kind of suggested when I only had the one model and people did want to use the flashback with it. So I was like, you know what, let's just you can do that approach as well. So, but at this point, I think I'm pretty happy to say that I don't think it usually needs it. But you know what, this stuff is 40 years old. Expansion, contraction, sunlight. The moon phases, there might be some tolerance changes that can occur. So, but I try to test mine pretty thoroughly with as many controllers as I can get my hands on. And I usually have more than one or two to kind of provide some, objectivity. And of course, everyone who buys the stuff, I've gotten feedback before, and it's all been actually very positive. I really haven't had anybody complain to any extent about it. I had one guy, Casey, I told you about that, was a guy had the Odyssey 2 coupler, and his controller, when he slipped both of them into it, it was kind of snug for him and tight, and he forced it in and it cracked it. And I tested it with, I could probably put like 8 different Odyssey controllers through one, and none of them had that problem. I think maybe his was just a millimeter or two thicker because maybe it had been disassembled at some point and reassembled and not snugly connected. I just don't know. But ultimately, I sent him another one. He knew next time not to force it in as much, and it worked fine. So, we were able to make that happen. So yeah.
Let's go over quicker than the Intellivision one, but let's go over all these other ones and just show people the kind of items that you have there. You got the Atari 2600, the Robotron controller.
Right. This is definitely, like, next to the Intellivision coupler, this one is probably one of the best bangs for the buck, because you got the 2600, which a lot of us have, or some variation of, and these are all games that really do take advantage of 2 joysticks. Not necessarily dual shooting like Robotron, but just different things. In fact, I didn't even know that games like Raiders of the Lost Ark, or more importantly, like I loved Riddle of the Sphinx. I loved that one as a kid. And I was like, but I never understood that the second controller did anything. I didn't know that. I was like a kid just playing and shooting a ball, little rocks at guys.
I just learned that right now.
It's weird. So yeah, so that's a really good one as far as getting someone. But as you can see here, Spy Hunter. So there was a Spy Hunter for the 2600, but they did a weird thing where they rotated the joystick 90 degrees. And while you might think, well, why don't you just make one coupler that can really work with both? The problem is that the rubber feet underneath the 2600, it's not perfectly square. So I was like, well, sure, just rip the feet off the bottom of it. That's what I did. But I know people who are collectors obviously don't want to have to damage their hardware to use this. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stop. And, and people have found a need. And I've sold a few of the Spy Hunters as well as the Robotron one as well. So there's still a number of people out there who have found it useful to have the Spy Hunter one. And this one doesn't show it yet, but I have made some improvements to these now that where you can kind of see at the bottom of it, there's actually now an extra little lip that you'll see in some of the later controllers that now when the controllers slide in, they used to be held in with friction, and it did do a good job. But, what can I say? I'm sure after enough stressful playing back and forth, moving the joysticks, you could wiggle it free, with enough effort. So I thought I can definitely +1 this.
So this was interesting as well, the Star Raiders, and there's 2 styles to this one.
Right, and we talked a little bit of this yesterday, but basically, I originally wanted to do a side-by-side version, which is the alternate version, and that was because I loved Star Raiders as a kid. I remember a time when me and a friend played it in my grandparents' like a guest bedroom, and it's like he was the co-pilot, I was the pilot, and he's pushing the buttons, and I'm using the joystick. But for those of us who were wanting to try and play this game, but by ourselves, I thought it'd be cool to kind of combine the two together to make a kind of master control. And so, and also for maybe future homebrew developers that they could make a Street Fighter style game or other fighting game or other game that utilizes more fire buttons, because now you got the joystick on your left and you got the other one. And of course I could inverse it very easily if there was any requirement, making it right joystick on the right. I'm left-handed, so I've always kind of favored that, which is why I still thank the gods of NES that they came up with the controller the way they did, because I remember playing games like Tron at the arcade and hating the fact that I had to use the right hand to move the joystick. I could never get good at that game. So anyway, but yeah, so the Pong coupler is another one. You could do this. This really wasn't made. This was kind of I'm just going to make this because I think it's kind of cool. Now there is a game called, actually I added it. It's not on this yet, but there's a game called Crazy Marble or Marble something. Anyway, it actually does use two dials. And it's kind of like, you remember the game Labyrinth, where you had the ball and the maze you just would tilt the thing? Well, it's basically that, but it's even actually more than just that. It's actually like you're moving through a series of different screens with different mazes, and you're trying to get your ball through the whole thing. So that was that actually does work with this as well. But I thought this could also be a really interesting potential other game too. Like there's a lot of cool ideas. And this, of course, is part of like phase 1 of my Discs of Tron, for the 2600 dream, which is essentially having it where you could have a game that's almost like Akari Warriors or something like that, where you could have a joystick that moves and then you have a dial that lets you aim and do things like that, or any number of games. And of course the red buttons are there. It doesn't really illustrate those well in these still images, but you will see that button, the right button, is actually a button that I designed that lets you press that down, and it actually presses the Pong button on the side of it, and it works really well. Actually, it took a bit of trial and error to get it right. Kind of like Thomas Edison approach. I know 1,000 ways how to make a crappy button, but I finally got it pretty solid at the point where you can mash that down and it never jams and stuff. But yeah, as you press that down, it actually pushes. It's got a triangular sort of wedge that forces the Pong button to go in, and therefore you have a fire button for that. And then what else we got? Odyssey.
Odyssey.
Yeah, so the Odyssey, I never had an Odyssey as a kid. I knew a kid that had one. I saw Quest for the Rings. It took me decades to figure out what that game was, but I can remember to this day that when I was a kid, I thought, this looks way cooler than Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. This is awesome, because it just had so much on the screen compared to it's a different game, but I had no idea it was even a board game until recently. But yeah, I'm kind of working on this Qbert mount this is actually for the 2600, but I'm actually making it kind of for the 2600 and the Odyssey. I probably should put this with the 2600, but again, it's a work in progress. I got kind of sidetracked with a number of other events coming up, but I wanted to make basically a mount, not a coupler, but a mount that you put your joysticks into that rotates at 45 degrees automatically for you, so you can kind of orient it more naturally, I guess you might say, but then also to have movement restriction so that the joystick itself will only move in the 4 directions as opposed to being an 8-directional joystick, just to make it feel. So
I don't have that one yet.
That's one that actually Tim Tim Duarte actually came to me with that idea, and I was like, you know what, that's cool. Let's try it and let's see what happens. So, yeah, so we did that to kind of collaborate on that. And he wants to actually do a re-release of Q*bert, I think, in cartridge form at some point. Once we get this figured out, maybe do a kind of a bundle type of thing. So that's kind of a thing in the horizon as well.
So the 2600 adapter cables for the Odyssey 2, tell us about those.
Right. So that basically means if you've got an Odyssey 2, but your joysticks are shot, or you just like the feel of 2600 joysticks, you can effectively plug this into the back of the Odyssey 2 and hook a 2600 joystick and play it. And it works great.
And if you don't have the console with removable joysticks, what are your options?
Another one, this is another kind of a near future project I'd like to get to, but I'm actually working on making a conversion kit. So for anyone who has an Odyssey 2 who have the wired joysticks, this will affect it will require you to open up the case. You can't get away from that, but there's no soldering involved, there's no wire cutting, there's nothing like that. It'll be a pretty simple conversion kit, and ultimately it will give you two sort of wires hanging out the back. Will have DB9 ports, so you can plug up, you know, Odyssey controllers, but also it'll include a coupler type, or I guess you might call it an enclosure that you'll snap around your wired Odyssey controllers to make them become DB9 female, so you can then plug them into another Odyssey system or continue to use them with your newly converted system.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to buy those because, man, that would be awesome. Atari, the joysticks are so much better than the Odyssey.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And I mean, and the other thing about it too is the fact that I think it seems to be a lot of people have I guess my understanding is that the original ones were detachable, and then later on they became attached. So as you can imagine, just through time, it's more likely there's going to be more wired attachment systems surviving than the removable ones. I was fortunate to have a removable one. But I originally started with a wired one, I believe, and I actually ended up doing a conversion kit because I had a bad motherboard, and a guy who's local helped me out and got it working again. But in the process, it actually became the kind with the ports. So, which was actually I liked. I was like, this is a good thing because again, connected to the patch panel.
And there are aftermarket controllers, arcade sticks, NES style controllers for the Odyssey 2. I have some of them, and if you don't have, you know, the older one with the ports, you can't even use them without adapters. Yeah,
exactly. In fact, that's your the coupler you have was the sort of second revision of the Odyssey coupler, because originally I was going to have it where you just feed the cable through a little square hole and it runs it through like that. But then people were like, wait a minute, I have a wired system. I was like, oh, well, I guess you could reverse it and plug it in backwards. But I was like, that's lame. So I did a little bit, and I started thinking about it, and I realized, like, you know what I could do? I could just leave a little trench, and then they can just run the cable through it, hence the way it looks now.
So here we have the Coleco coupler.
Right. So again, I think the Coleco is an amazing system. I've got I just got the game module for it. I would love to eventually make games for this one as well, just because the graphics are so great. And I can't lie, I love my Intellivision, but man, everything about the Coleco at the time in 1982, 83 was just like, this is so much better. This Donkey Kong is amazing. You know, Smurfs is awesome. It's just, there's so much more color and sound and everything about it, which is so cool. So I would love to, again, see some more homebrew games, maybe take advantage of what this could open up for the Coleco as well. And up till now, it's essentially those two. I believe those are both homebrews, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Robotron is, but I don't know. So this is for the Atom. I do have an Atom as well, and I have one of the standalone ones, but originally, so I ended up with two Atoms at one point and helped the guy sell. Basically, I had two. I was able to kind of frankenfix and keep a complete one for myself, and I sold the other one for this other guy. And so, because I really wanted to have the printer, and originally I bought the Atom without the printer. So I bought the keyboard. It's kind of funny how I ended up with it. So I basically bought an actual keyboard sight unseen for an Atom by itself for like $20. Some guy was selling some stuff, miscellaneous computers. I was like, that's an Atom keyboard. I love that Arrow keyboard. Why not? I'll just buy it. I didn't have an Atom. Didn't have plans of getting an Atom. But then it kind of one thing led to another. Someone said, hey, this guy sells refurbished standalone Coleco Atom systems. I was like, for a decent price. I was like, okay, you know what? What the hell? So I did it. But I didn't have the cradle, which I didn't even know was a thing. But originally there was this cradle that would let you pop a controller into it. And the idea was you use the joystick as a kind of mouse, an early cursor controller. But I didn't have one at all. And I was like, well, you know what? I should make one. Because I can't be the only guy who doesn't have the cradle at all. So I made one. And it's not exactly a perfect replica, but it's functionally replicated. And So I make that as well. But then also there's another one which I make also for people who now, like myself, later ended up with the coupler. But guess what? It only is held in by 2 brittle teeth now, and almost everyone's have snapped off by now. You know, and if they haven't, they will pretty soon, because again, it's only these 2 like little hook teeth things that are both like that snap in, and if those break off, it just doesn't stay in place. So I came up with this little fella right here. You can see that it doesn't show very good in this picture, but basically you take that little thing and you simply pop it up inside of the recess of the of your coupler, your cradle, and it gives you these 2 teeth that will go in. And while it's off by like 3 millimeters, because of course I had to go through these 2 little holes that are next to where the teeth used to be. So, but it works really well. It definitely does a good job. It'll stay in snug, and you can now continue to have your cradle stay where it needs to be.
I don't think I've ever had an Atom. I've definitely never tried one.
Well, yeah, it's that's cool. It's the Atom's a cool system, I gotta say, because it's like there's some great aftermarket products for it. There's even a hard drive, an IDE. You can get like a SD. It uses a CF card and an IDE controller inside of it. You can actually have it run a form of DOS. It's not DOS. It's whatever or CPM or something like that. I'm sure people in here know way better than me, but basically it is a kind of a DOS system where you can type in commands and load things, and there's a slew of programs, because apparently the history of that is that, of course, the Coleco Atom was a failed computer. However, they made a bunch of them and they basically liquidated them. So a bunch of people bought all of these Atoms for next to nothing, and they're like, hey, I got this computer, what can I do with it? And so people kept writing software for it, and it did kind of have a small but faithful market for a number of years. So it kind of continued, and now all that stuff's been archived. And there's things like the FujiNet, which you can get. You plug it into it through the expansion port. There's like a little serial port on the side of it that's like a telephone clip, but it gives you Wi-Fi. It gives you a floppy emulator, basically, where you can actually load an SD card and actually load, store apps and stuff straight from that. There's RAM expansions and everything. So it's a fascinating device. So, okay, so here we go. Moving on to the 5200. Yeah. So again, I did this one, same deal. A really cool guy trusted me and mailed me his actual controllers. I then designed and developed and tested it against his, and then just shipped them back to him with his controllers. And he was very happy with that. And so these are the games that I'm aware of. There's IntelliDiscs, which is pretty cool, because that's basically Tron Deadly Discs ported to the 5200.
Yeah, I think I saw that last year at PRGE.
Okay, yeah, it's really cool, and it does use the 2 joysticks and stuff. So, and it has a mode. You can play without it. You don't have to have this, but so those are the 3 games that I'm aware of that take advantage of it. But again, I really like the idea of opening that up for people who are homebrew developers to realize they can do that. And of course, here's for the NES. The NES had a Smash TV, but then I learned about some other things. Silent Service apparently had 4 torpedo bays, and the other 2 are. Yeah, me either. Someone enlightened me about it. Spookatron was a homebrew that came out a few years ago. It was I think it was cartridge only, and it was a Kickstarter, so it's super obscure. One of those kind of things where you probably have to pay a bunch of money if you can find someone even selling one at this point. And then Gyromite, of course, was just cool because you could be Rob
the
and
robot
yourself
game
at the same time, right? So you can play through levels without the robot easier.
When I remember being a kid, I liked the robot, but I was like, it was way too weird to use. I just would push the button on my controller.
I never actually had Rob. My parents bought the one that came with just the zapper and the controller. And so there's the 7800, same deal. Coupler, Robotron and Space Dungeon were the most famous ones that were official, and those did have couplers for them. But then I learned about a few other games that could take advantage of dual joysticks. And of course, the 7800 works with 2600 controllers. So if you had the 2600 coupler, you could just play it with the 2600 controller joysticks as well. So you certainly have that option. But I wanted to make sure that people who had the original 7800 controllers could do it, on their original systems.
So here's a game that I picked up recently from Atari Age,
Really?
Attack of the Pesky Robots, and I got the Super Nintendo adapter, and that was very cool to hook up a Super Nintendo controller and play the 7800.
Oh, yeah, I love that. So I've got a few different adapters like that myself for like the Vectrex. I've got one that's it adapts the a Sega Genesis controller. You know what I'm saying, to play with it and so forth. So
yeah.
Yep, and this, of course, this is the Sega Master System.
Yeah, it says NES, but SMS.
Oh, typo. I got to fix that. Yes.
SMS.
So, but these are correct. Right. So this is the SMS, and yes, this would be the. So what this is basically is yeah, I copy and pasted these things. So I gotta go. I can do some spell check. But yeah, so these two games are games that for the Sega Master System that would take advantage of the coupler. Now, originally I made it for Smash TV for the Sega Master System because I just assumed they did it for the NES. Why wouldn't they do it for the Sega Master System? But apparently they didn't. The Sega Master System version of Smash TV just does the thing where you press and hold the fire button in whichever direction you were last shooting, it will just continue to shoot in that direction as you move around, which is a pretty good workaround. I mean, I don't hate that, but it's still nice to be able to truly move freely and shoot in all directions. But anyway, so I realized that after the fact, I was like, oh, okay, I got to correct that. And then the Wii Fit, so that, so my son and I actually still use the Wii Fit for weighing ourselves and doing some balance tests and some stretching.
I have one of those.
So, but the problem is that on my carpet, I found that when I was trying to do lunges and stuff, it would slip and roll. So I was like, okay, I got to come up with a fix for that. So I came up with these little grippies. So basically, you just put one on each of the feet, and this sucker will not slide. It's definitely in there.
I could have used that a long time ago.
I know. This is about 14 years too late, right? I wish I had come up with this idea, and I don't know if anyone ever made it back then. Maybe people had some like stickies or something like that, but this is also a fun one. So I did learn, I think, and I haven't really researched these fully, and I have a Wii though, so I could try it out. And I think I have a lot of these games, but basically I heard that these games actually did use both joysticks, not necessarily the nunchuck / joystick. So I thought, what the hell? I'll make a coupler for this one too, and it feels
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so these are the games that I'm aware of. I have Ghost Squad, but I've always played Ghost Squad with the light guns, because I have the pistol, so it feels really good to play it with the actual Wii and the gun.
Yeah.
I don't like the rifle one so much. I always found that to be a little bit weird. I don't know why, but there's one that's like it looks like a pistol, like a blue and white pistol. They're not that expensive. They're like $20 or $30. I think you can find them on eBay. But anyway, they feel really good. So. Yeah, and then that's it for that one, and then I think that's all of those, right?
Yeah, that was so. This is the website 8bitwidgets.com. It is fairly new, and you got one thing to correct there, but everything looks good. I like it. I like that retro look. So one other thing I wanted to talk about too was, let me go switch out of this, was the homebrew community, because you are working with people in the homebrew community to bring up other products. Now, I know you're doing something for Champ Games. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Champ Games, actually, I kind of just pitched it to him because he's been working on Turbo for a while. But I don't know what I was doing exactly. I think I was just talking I think I just struck up a conversation with him on Facebook about Robotron and the coupler and stuff. And I thought, maybe there's some synergy there where obviously he's selling this game that would make use of it. And if I could maybe, if he wants to, just let people that has already bought his game maybe know about it, or if he wants to combine it as a combo deal or anything, really. But I just thought it'd be kind of cool to strike up a conversation. And I was showing him some of the other 2600 hybrids I've been working on, and he thought, hey, Turbo uses the joystick and it uses the dial. So what we did kind of an exchange. He sent me a few free ROMs, and I sent him a couple of my couplers for him to try out. And he tried out the coupler that was the sort of the CX40 / Pong thing, and he says it works really well with Turbo. So I'm actually shipping out probably tomorrow morning a bunch of stuff because he's at some convention right now, I think, starting like any like this coming week.
He'll be at PRGE this weekend. I'll be there as well.
Oh, is that okay? It's the same one. Yeah, so I'm basically going to ship him some, not nearly enough to cut. Obviously, I have no idea what the demand will be, if anyone's even interested in them or not. But I thought, listen, I'm going to send you like 5 or 6 of them, and and you guys can try them out. If nothing else, demo them. Maybe put a little 8-bit widget thing so people who decide later they want to they want to get one, they know how to contact me. And so so that's something we're kind of. So we didn't really do it from the get-go, but just kind of realized that we had two things that would work well together. And so I look forward to. I actually need to get Turbo myself so I can play it. I'll buy a ROM. I'm a ROM guy mostly. I usually keep a few cartridges of each system, mostly to make sure to test the system, to make sure that my multi-cart isn't like the problem, or is it the system?
Oh, yeah.
You got to have that.
I know, John of Champ Games, man, if you guys don't know and you play Atari games, I buy those games just because they made them. They are that good. I have every single one they put out. They are amazing. Right. So if you don't know about Champ Games, look them up on Facebook, the website. They'll be at PRG as well. They are amazing.
Yeah, absolutely solid games. I learned, I had an Uno cart when I first got my 2600 because I didn't know anything about anything as far as compatibility, and I learned that the Champ games you have to work on a Harmony card. If you buy the ROMs, you need to have the Harmony card. But the good news is that the Harmony card's not very expensive. It's actually pretty reasonable. It's like 50 or 60 bucks or something. It's not tough. It's not steep at all. But yeah, so I have the Harmony cart and. It is really interesting. So he's using the original hardware, but he does take advantage of there's an ARMS processor on the Harmony cart that allows kind of a form of acceleration. So that's why when you see games like Robotron on the 2600, you're like, how on earth is so much going on and this be a 2600? And the reason why is because he's leveraging that extra CPU power, but he's still working with the same hardware. It's not like it's bypassing the actual hardware and how I think is it the 7800? I think there's a cartridge you can get that actually has S video out, where it almost it's a. I think there's still there might be out of stock right now. I forget who makes it, but anyway, someone in here is going to know. But basically, my point is that it's not like it's sort of hijacking just the output of your thing and it's all emulation. No, it's actually using the 2 sprite hardware limit and everything. It's just because of the added acceleration, it can just do that many more calculations per second, allowing more things to move on the screen and look fluid and more natural.
Yeah, so, some of the games are really close to like arcade quality.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's amazing the colors and just everything.
It is fascinating, and yeah, so he writes all of this stuff in C and assembly. It's very low level programming, so this guy knows his stuff, and he's really squeezing
here's one drawback, and I know that this will affect you as well because you're a backbit user. Champ games do not work on the backbit, unfortunately. Intellivision Dude.
Right. Yeah, I can understand it because there is an ARM processor on the backbit as well, but I don't think that Evitron is actually supporting acceleration, I think, to any degree. I worked with her pretty closely early on to get her, and she was super cool about supporting the JLP stuff. At first, I think she was a little reluctant only because it's kind of like a modern thing. I think she heard that there's acceleration, and it's only that JLP supports acceleration. JLP doesn't require acceleration. And so because of that, we were able to come up with it. And I think I ended up buying, was that Sorrow of, what is it? How's it pronounced? Gamora?
Godlin Thur? I don't even know if I'm pronouncing right. Sorrow of Godlin Thur?
So, yes, I was always kind of SOG, right? SOG. But anyway, yeah, so that was I was like, oh my God, that's such a cool game. That's it was almost like, Castlevania 2, right? But for the Intellivision, which is amazing. But it had the save feature. And at first she was able to get it to run the actual, the system, but they wouldn't save. It still wouldn't write to save. And I was like, so close.
Saving's important on some.
But but again, I was very persistent but patient. I didn't want to be pushy. I respected everything she was willing to do. She fixed every game that I found that didn't work. I know there are some other people who found games that continued to not work that I didn't know about. Like I hadn't tested it, so I couldn't know. But then she found fixes for those as well. So honestly, the backbit is absolutely a product that if it doesn't work, that doesn't mean it's not going to work. It can, and it almost certainly will. And anyway, it's just a matter of I'd send her a ROM, she'd try and test it. She'd send me back a fixed ROM. I'd test it. I'd run the update, and yeah, it was really cool. So
yeah, I know she's continuously working on stuff,
absolutely,
which is really very cool to see.
I know one of the coolest ones that for that the back. If you use a backbit with the Odyssey 2, if I'm not mistaken, now it has the voice module. It'll simulate the voice module. Yeah, so it has an actual headphone, an 1/8-inch headphone jack. So you just plug some speakers or amplifier or whatever into that, and you'll hear the Odyssey's voice.
Huh. So we did talk about the Qbert mount that you're working on with Tim Duarte. But what are you doing with Cody Gamers? Because you're involved in a lot of different things, and people might not be aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, so for them and for Tim as well, I've been producing, basically, I've been printing enclosures. Sometimes it's for an established PCB that already exists, but there's also been some like the ones that William makes, the JLP Intellivision boards. Those were up till that time, I guess there wasn't a cartridge already out there, or if there was one, it was not one that I would be legally able to reproduce. So I created my own from scratch for those particular PCBs for Coty. So William sent me the ROMs, the boards, And then I took those and did some measurements, a little bit of trial and error and prototyping, and I finally got it just right. Even had to make sure I could get it so that you couldn't install the Intellivision cartridge upside down. Had to put the little runner in there to keep it from going in all the way. And so, of course, that's all really fun to do. So for me, I really enjoyed that. So with Coty, I've made about 150, maybe 160 cartridges for them at this point. Where I'm just going to mass print. I can kind of show you guys. I'm in the room right now, but it's all working right now. But basically, I've got my printer here. I got 4 of them. There's that one. You can see there's this one over here going, and over here I got this guy. Those 2 going. So they're all kind of firing away right now, making some more Robotron couplers. And of course, I'm wearing my Amiga T-shirt. You can see that. Make up your own mind.
Make up your own mind.
Because at that time, it was a whole thing where it's like, why are people picking PCs and Macs when the Amiga was like, could do all this great stuff, like so well and often cheaper, you know? Like it was just kind of crazy. Like people just wanted to throw away thousands of dollars for something that, you could do for half that price. So anyway.
So you're also kind of working on something that I thought was really cool. The pieces, the game pieces.
Right. So they're actually in the process right now. I don't know when the ETA is yet, but they're working on a board game that actually is a physical board game that works with the Intellivision. So you'll have a cartridge and a board. And what they're having me do is I will be printing all the game pieces. And I mean, there's going to be quite a few of their little plastic, type pieces that you would stack and so forth. And I don't know the finer points of the game at this point, but it's definitely something they're working on. And again, that's what I'll basically be doing is I'll be helping sort of print the parts, the cartridge cases and stuff. And I think I already got those ready. They'll just be sending me the boards. And I think unless the numbers have changed, last I heard, it'll be, I think 40 of the first run will probably be 40 of those board games.
And that's pretty cool because before you told me that, I had never heard of this game coming. And this is much like, for those of you that are aware on the Odyssey 2, they have hybrid board game and video games where, it's you play both. And this is coming for Intellivision at some point. So really be looking for that in the future. I can't wait to get my hands on it. That's for sure. Something different, totally different. I don't think we have one of those for Intellivision.
Yeah, no, to my knowledge, you're right. I mean, as you and I talked about yesterday, though, the Odyssey had some pretty cool board games that I thought were like Quest for the Ring. And there's Conquest the World, I think and there's the stock market one. So you can play these actual board games that have pieces and game pieces and stuff, but it uses the Odyssey's computer to help drive that stuff. So the stock market game is literally like you see like a ticker going across of different companies, and you're literally buying and selling, and it somehow manages to track all that stuff. And of course, the Odyssey had the keyboard, which was kind of a cool thing,
Yeah.
So, but that's another thing for Odyssey people. It's also kind of a fun thing I'm working on too. But I'm actually looking to prototype an actual membrane pressure keyboard that you can just literally overlay on top of the Odyssey 2 membrane so that you can actually have a typewriter, kind of a chiclet keyboard of some kind.
Oh, nice.
So, so that'll be kind of fun.
Michael Hayes says it's the Great Wall Street Fortune Hunt. That's the stock market game.
Thank you so much for, it's exactly.
I couldn't quite think of it either. I have it. I couldn't.
Yeah, I know it's like the Wall Street. Yeah, I knew it dealt with stocks and stuff. And I've got all 3 of them kind of stacked up over here. But again, sadly, I don't have anyone to play with. So I've never really been able to sit down and properly play the games.
I haven't tried any of them either. So, what after all these couplers, what's coming next? Because you have something interesting that you want to be doing with homebrew games.
Well, that's kind of the thing. I was joking with you earlier. I was like, some of those couplers you can see, I'm kind of like, if I build it, will they code kind of a thing, right? So I really want to just make sure that the homebrew developers out there know that these couplers could be used. And I mean, I'm even open to other ideas too. These are just the ones I've come up with so far. But the idea is just fusions of combining controllers in new ways that let new game mechanics be possible that wouldn't be possible otherwise. And again, as you can imagine, what would be possible to play a game where you have a joystick and like a tank game, but you could, if you want to get into fire buttons, you could have it where the gun's on auto shoot, but you're still moving the joystick, but then you're using the rotation of either the driving, the driving one from the 2600 that was completely 360, or you could go with the more common Pong controller where you can simply rotate around and have this kind of dual action going on, or Akari Warriors. I mean, you could do all kinds of, another form of Smash TV or any other way. There's a lot of possibilities. So I just want to make sure that, if homebrew, especially with the recent development of the whole news with Atari buying out Atari Age and all that. And you know, and honestly, I think it's, from what I can tell so far, I am very optimistic about it. I don't see it as a bad thing, because it sounds like you know, Albert really did. I guess he really did a good job of negotiating something where the forums aren't going to be compromised, because hey, we're all Intellivision guys, and does this mean the forum's going to become Atari only? No, it sounds like they're really going to still let it be a shelter for that. All those Harmony carts that he sells, he's going to continue to sell those. Those aren't going away now that Atari is coming along. So there's a lot of good there, I think, still. Even though I know they're corporate, and I hope they don't turn evil, and who knows, you know, if they become the dark side or whatever. But you know, we'll see. But
So,
but to the point, I just want to let people know that because a lot of these guys were making all these ports of games. They were just basically using games without licenses, and so they had to take a lot of those down. And yes, they might still continue selling, but I think there's a lot of homebrew guys out there who maybe are trying to say, well, what can I do now that I can't necessarily just go out and copy all these old games? I'm gonna have to come up with something original. But just imagine the possibilities if you start having it where you could actually have a controller that's an inexpensive accessory that goes with that, and you know, just opens up new possibilities.
so beyond couplers, because there's something else, another venture. That's kind of what I was getting at in the last question. You are also a game designer.
Right. So so I've got, like we were talking about before, I've got I have Oscar's Intellivision book. I've got his 2600 book. Holy hell, that is deep stuff, man. I am very, you know, he did a great job trying to explain things the best you can, but that is some deep stuff, man. It's just there's no way. I think I'm very intimidated by that at this point, as I've read like
I'm not capable.
chapter. Oh my God, I'm just like, no. But I will tell you though, there's another one I've learned, and I'm happy to support the book, and I like to have it because I've always found assembly fascinating. I think there's something really cool. I still want to learn it over time. But you know, there's NT Basic, which a lot of you guys all know about and have talked about, which does make programming for the Intellivision just a little bit easier, right? And not saying it makes it easy, but it certainly makes it easier than writing it in raw assembly. And
I think the NT Basic has opened it up for a lot of people to make games that would otherwise not be making them.
Right, and that's what got me my foot in the door. I have I don't have the advanced book that he sells, but I have the original one because I figured I at least need to get this down before I'm ready for the advanced stuff. But that said, there's a language out there called Batari Basic, and it's essentially a very similar thing to NT Basic. It is essentially a kind of basic language for the 2600 that lets you make games for the 2600 that is not quite as deep as assembly. And so I'm looking at that as well. I have recently learned some more about the Coleco, which of course also is an assembly language based thing, that there are a couple, I don't really know them that well at this point, but apparently there are a couple of possible languages for people who are interested in that are languages that are just maybe a little bit more accessible. And one of the things that's interesting is there's a guy who's working on a version of C that is still C, which is not a light language. That's a powerful language in and of its own right. However, the interesting thing about it is that it's a limited number of instructions from C. So it's not like you have to master the whole spectrum of what C can do in order to actually make your things happen. And you just learn a smaller subset of instructions for C. And if you can wrap your head around that, then you could probably find yourself able to produce games for that more efficiently and with a little less, brain strain. So that's my hope, so to get into that.
Whenever you get into game design, are you going to be looking at multiple retro consoles? Are you going to be doing originals, ports? I think you talked about you have original ideas.
Yeah,
right?
There are so many guys out there who are so brilliant at being able to make the ports. And for me, I've always kind of been a guy, I like to try and come up with new ideas. And that's what the couplers were really good for, inspiring me to think, like I still think there's going to be I would love to see a Discs of Tron port for the 2600 with that dial joystick and the joystick together, with the Pong and the joystick together. And if you add an Omega Race attachment on top, and I'm actually looking to actually make one of those myself. I'd actually like to reproduce a similar product as the Omega Race. If you guys don't know it, Omega Race, the original 2600 game, actually came with this attachment that slid down on the shaft of the CX40, and it would give you an additional front and top fire button, which gave you more buttons to play Omega Race. So you had like shields, I guess, and thrust, and you could just play the game more like the arcade. But the way that would work is you would actually plug it in, and then the 2600 joystick would plug into this male-female socket of the joystick add-on, and then that would pass through into the actual 2600. So I was maybe looking to produce some kind of an additional fire button that would also let you play games like Battlezone, right?
Oh,
Where you can play
sweet.
Battlezone.
That
You
one I
can,
know.
you can do the 2 joysticks, but you'd also have the fire button. Now, I know some people have
Yeah.
done cool things where they take some of those commander joysticks, the aftermarket 2600 joysticks that have the suction cups, and you can do that. And I think there's someone who made a hack version of a Battlezone that basically lets you use. So I don't know how the hack was, but basically it lets you play Battlezone the way it was intended. I think that's actually the hack. It actually does let you use 2 joysticks. The original Battlezone wasn't designed for that. I think you just played with a single joystick and a fire button. So yeah, so now you can actually play where you can do rotating by doing this kind of stuff, and like the original arcade. So yeah, so that's my. But to answer your question, I think I'm still going to ultimately focus on the Intellivision first. I've got several really good game ideas that I'd like to make, and those games are, I think I can make them within the constraints of the 26 of the Intellivision. And so, and if I can't, I could basically, one is I'm pretty excited about. It was actually a game I tried to make for Modern. It's called Road Defender, and basically imagine a game like Bump and Jump as a tower defense game, right? Where you are a convoy of vehicles going down the road, and you have your enemies coming up beside you, like Road Warrior. The tanker chase scene at the end of Road Warrior. That's basically the game. I was originally doing some more ambitious modern versions, which actually would have been 3D and physics and all that kind of stuff. And we were using Unity at the time, but it was one of those things where I didn't, it was sometimes you just have to be able to do it yourself, in order, I couldn't afford to hire somebody because it was just too complex of a game. So ultimately I decided, I should take that idea and bring it down to the Intellivision and make it a tower defense game where you're basically managing multiple convoy vehicles, and you can upgrade them and do all that kind of stuff with it. So that's one. Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a tower defense game. We have one question from chat. Couldn't a Battlezone controller be made for a single controller port?
Yeah, I think the original 2600 version did that. I think it was you just moved the joystick. I think you just turned, and you could use the angles to more or less navigate. But I think for me, it was mostly just the idea that it was fun, because that's the original Battlezone. Was at the arcade, you played with 2 joysticks and you had the fire buttons on top. So with 2 joysticks with a coupler, it would have let you essentially play it like that. And there is actually a homebrew game that exists. The only problem with my coupler, though, is that the fire buttons wouldn't really be easily accessible. You'd have to use your pinky or something to press the fire button, which would be awkward.
That might be weird.
I'm not advocating that or endorsing that as an acceptable product or solution. So yeah, but I would like to eventually come up with some sort of an aftermarket, because you can still buy the Omega Race games. That's what I actually have a couple of them myself. They weren't terribly expensive, maybe $30, $40, maybe less. I think $25, $30. It wasn't bad, but the point is that if I make a game that needs that, now you've created this demand for those, and there's only usually a few of them on at any given time. So then it's either going to make the price go up, or the availability to a point where I can't really make the game so that everyone can play it. So I'd rather just say, you know what, I'm going to actually make an attachment that goes over the joystick that enables that capability. But a call out to people. I know that Robotron is a copywritten game, but I still can't see if you guys have seen it. There's a game called Robot Ron, which is actually one of the games I collaborated with a developer with my coupler. For the Odyssey 2, Robot Ron is essentially a Robotron-like, where it actually does let you use 1 joystick to shoot and 1 to move, and it uses my coupler and stuff. So that was its intention. But yeah, so with this idea, as I'm trying to say, is that with the coupler, there's no reason why someone couldn't come up with a really cool Robotron-like game where you can move and shoot with the Intellivision coupler, because the 2 discs are right here. I mean, you've now got dual motion. You can just play like this, and just move and shoot freely. And the discs are really good for that, because it's 16 direction, which is also pretty cool. Like if someone actually designed it to take full advantage of that more subtle directional, could be really interesting.
So Michael Hayes says, what I mean is somebody would build a controller with 2 sticks that only move up and down. Each one could be in any of 3 positions. The standard joysticks have 9 positions when you count center, and said, therefore, each combination of the 2 sticks could map to an original controller direction. Then you just put the button the button on top of the right joystick, and you have the original Battlezone controller.
Yeah, that's true. I guess the general philosophy I've also had with all these couplers has been do no harm. And it's basically trying to say you can use standard hardware with these modifications and not have to do any extra stuff, I mean, controllers people are making custom controllers all the time, right? These brand new, beautiful machines that have buttons and joysticks and everything. all that's possible. But for me, I was like, well, I don't really want to get into wiring and a lot of that any more than I already have. And frankly, I just want to come up with ways that you could take existing products and make them. In fact, that fire button I was talking about for the joystick thing, that would probably be my more ambitious effort, because I'm actually going to have to incorporate a little trigger, a little clicking trigger on the top that I'll have to make an enclosure for and all that. So yeah, there's all kinds of possibilities of things that people could make from scratch and original and do the very specific things. But for me, I thought it was trying to come up with like reasonably accessible, easy to, like affordable options for people to be able to do more with their systems and not necessarily have to really engineer, something more complex. So that's kind of, unless I'm misunderstanding the way it was described, but yeah, there's a lot of ways that joysticks could be rigged and stuff. You could also make, well, like I was saying before, there's those joysticks that are aftermarket that have suction cups. So if you really want to play Robotron, you could buy a couple of those too. But there's only so many of those out there, and there's a whole lot more CX40s out there and a lot cheaper. And in fact, there's even the reproductions now that they've got, which I actually need to test at some point. I'll probably buy one just to have to test to make sure that fits mine. Or maybe I'll ask somebody who one of the guys that's bought one of these, how it works for them. The 2600 Plus, which I know has been a lot of buzz lately. I don't know if my couplers fit those properly or not, but I will say that my latest design that has a little clip on the back should hold it in if it's remotely close to the size of a CX40. It may be a little, but again, it might be a little loose. It might be a little jiggly. Maybe it's a millimeter or too wide so that you're trying to cram it in there. I won't know until someone either reports back or I buy one to test myself. And
yeah, they're going to have one at the Atari Age booth at PRG this weekend. So maybe they have it out if they're the same size. I mean, that would be good to know.
Champ is going to have a few extras. I'm sure if someone wanted to walk it over there and try it out, they could be the first to tell the world, if it works well or not, or if I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board and get my hands on one of those to make a version that specifically supports that shape.
Yeah, if he has that, we'll have to definitely walk over and check it out.
That's awesome.
So last thing I got for you is, how do people get a hold of you? I mean, obviously there's the website now, but what other ways? Like, are you on Facebook? Are you on eBay? Are you on Atari Age? Email? Like, how do people get a hold of you? Where can they find your products?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, basically, since people are obviously, I'm talking, people are live and stuff. The best way to reach me is probably through Atari Age, and it's 8bitwidgets.com is my username there. But yeah, if you just PM me directly, the better thing is I always shave some off the cost. Only reason why, I kind of inflated the price a little bit over time because of as I've made improvements, sometimes that also started taking more material and time to print. So something that used to take me an hour to print now takes like 4 hours to print. And I'm using like the Intellivision controllers. If you look at the original version, it's way more like slim. This whole area was hollow. It just was less. And it was simpler. It was functional, but then I thought, you know what? I should make it stronger. Like I reinforced these arms a little bit here. You can see these have more reinforcement just to make sure they don't crack one day. And I find them to be very durable. They seem to hold up well. No one's really had any problems with them breaking on them. There was one guy I think who's snapped, but I think it might have been a bad print. Truth be told, it might have had a bad section and it was a weakness, so it just popped. But I just mailed him another one. It's not a big deal. I certainly would not want someone to think they bought something and they're unhappy with it. So, but yes, Atari Age is great. my email address, of course, caleb.garner. But if you want to just go through like the internet, Atari Age is great because you can reach me directly. Tell me what you want me to make. And if you want to buy several things, I always give bulk discounts. I'm always going to shave money off because if I can save on shipping, then I can pass it on to you guys. So it's, I enjoy making this stuff. I don't mind making a little bit of money off of it, but I'm also not trying to not making a living off this. This is more for fun. I'd rather see people enjoy this stuff than, try to,
you're being an active part of the community, putting out things to help people enjoy games, in a better way.
Well, right. Because that's kind of the thing. Like, I have 4 printers now because as demand started going up, as you all know, these things can take like these couplers for the Robotron, right? So it's getting late. But Robotron, they take like 12 hours to print. So it's a long time. And that's one. Now, if I have to make 10 of them, you're talking like 5-6 days to get through those if I just keep one
Yeah.
going all the time. So by having 4, it also lets me kind of prototype and still be productive. So that's all been possible and stuff. So that's where it's, it's been able to allow me to, to do more things like that. So like I said, I'm always looking for new ideas, and I'd love to collaborate with people. I think it's really great to just to be able to ultimately make all these machines. That's why I love the homebrew so much, because while I love reproductions and all those, to be able to bring games over from one system that was never on the other and everything, to me, I just love this idea that we can actually create new game experiences and tell new stories and new adventures through the systems that we all love so much. And so and again, I definitely think the Intellivision is where I want to start, but I would like to eventually branch out into like the Coleco and the 2600, probably, just because those other controllers and the other capabilities for graphics and sound and stuff are interesting. But especially because like all the 2600 also because it's a larger audience. Obviously, we all know that the 2600 is what everyone thinks of when they think of a classic console, and maybe the NES. As much as we all love the Intellivision, we all know that's one of those that was one of the smaller players in the scene, like Odyssey people, even Coleco people, who could say this system is superior to the 2600, but really everyone kind of gravitates towards the 2600 being the kind of iconic original classic arcade game, or a classic home console system. So yeah, it's so that's definitely where I'd like to get to, and I do kind of feel like I'm reaching a kind of plateau when it comes to a lot of this, and this is kind of what's kept me from getting into the homebrew stuff, is because I keep finding another product that I could produce for a platform or a system, but I think at this point I've hit all of the classic 8-bit consoles. Like I said, Channel F I haven't, but I don't think there's any dual controller games for it, so it's almost like there's at this point no need to make it for that.
I have one of those, but I mean, I haven't even tried it yet. I have no clue about its history or the games even.
They're pretty cool games. I mean, honestly, it's a neat little system. It's not a bad looking. I think the graphics look better than the 2600 from what I recall looking at some of the different games they've got. It's a sharp system, and it had a decent number of titles. I want to say it has like 20 to 25 games, and it does work with the backbit supports it. So you can use the backbit as a multi-cart to play all the games for it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It supports that system. So, and that's the thing too. I have to say it. Anyone who's holding out for an LTO, don't hold out. Just get a backbit. And even if you find that you're going to get an LTO one day, that's fine. I will get an LTO. And when I do, I'm going to take my backbit. I'm going to find another system. I probably will stick it in my Commodore 64 because it's also a really good ROM accessible disk loader. So in other words, you can actually load games from disk, I think, onto the cartridge port, which is a lot easier than going through the whole. If you've ever had to type in all those commands to load games from the floppy drive, it's a drag, man. It's slow. It's like even when you're using like USB adapters, it's still just like it just feeds so slowly. So the backbit is a very versatile piece of equipment. So even if you buy it now, you're thinking, well, I'm gonna get an LTO. You can have both and find ways of using both. Yep. See, there you go. I'm just saying. So yeah, because here's the thing. I was like pushing. I waited 2 years for an LTO to come up that wasn't on sale on eBay for $300, $400, $500, $600, and I'm like, I'm just not paying those prices.
Yeah, the prices got crazy.
It is. It's fine. It's like the VEC Fever. That's insane, right? You've seen that thing, right? No. The VEC Fever was basically a kind of a multi-cart, an LTO of sorts, basically for the Vectrex. But the guy only made like maybe 100 or 200 from a Kickstarter, and they were, I think they cost like maybe $100 back at the time to be a backer for it. And that was it. He made them and stopped making them, and now they sell for like $1,500 on eBay. I think they might even jumped up to like $2,200. It was supply and demand. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just like that's crazy stuff. So anyway, and I have a Vectrex and I love it, but I will say that I think that while I have kind of peaked, I mean, I have essentially all the systems: Neo Geo, 3DO, PS1. Odyssey, Atom, Coleco, 2600, 7800, 5200, Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, TurboGrafx, CD30 or the 32-bit for the Sega Genesis, Wii, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and an N64. But I do have a feeling that at some point I'm going to scale back. Like I've got my entire 16-port input is all taken up. And I think at some point I will probably start scaling back at some point and just sort of keep the ones that I feel like I get the most time to play, because that's the thing. Once you have this many systems to look at it, it's kind of fun for display, but at the same time, there's only so much free time to play any of them, and I would rather put more time into my Intellivision and my kind of like my classic systems than, the N64 is one of those. For example, I never owned one, never really had access to one, but I have it. I have a 300 game cartridge, multi-cart for it, and I've played a number of games for it. It is really a cool system, but it's also one of those like systems that I don't have a strong emotional tie to it, so I probably don't see myself spending a whole lot of time in that system, and so I might let that one go at some point, and it's all fully working. It's nice, and just I'll sell it for what's a fair price, and I always try to I don't sell things for. I always try to undercut because I always feel like I don't want to sell something for an honest price, knowing someone could flip it for 5 times the price. It's just it's not.
Like, I could have did that.
What's that?
It's like you want to sell, someone's going to enjoy it, not someone's just going to flip it and make money.
Right.
You could have made the money.
So when I sold a few, like I had a few Intellivision games. I've got a whole tub of cartridges that I'm probably going to sell as an auction soon, because I tried to sell them all separately, and it's like it's all right. But there's a few games that were like, say, a $50 game, so I would list it for $45. I figure at least if you can undercut the next guy, if someone else wants to sell the same game, they can undercut me. I'm happy to see that. And if mine doesn't sell, I'm going to look at the current price and I'm going to undercut that, and that's going to drive prices down rather than drive them up. And I feel like that's a better way to do it than play the market and like buy this game and then flip it and try and sell it for, 5 times as much. So, but, there's all kinds of people in the community and everyone's doing their thing. So, live and let live or whatever. But that's just my philosophy in general. So I try to, so that's my thing. It's like I will sell my systems, but I'm not going to sell them for dirt cheap. But I'm not going to also try to drive prices up either if I can avoid it.
That's a good fair price. I don't like the S word though. I like to buy stuff.
I know, I get it totally. I know. I mean, it's like my I have a Neo Geo and I have my Vectrex, and I know a guy who's local who wants to buy them basically, and I'm like, I love them. They're cool. My best friend had a Vectrex as a kid, and I loved that thing. Such a cool system, so unique. But I've just never
played one.
You got to get one, man. There's all there's to it.
I've had one. I owned one before.
Okay, so that's cool. As long as you've experienced, that's all I'm saying. It's a system to experience because it's just so unique. But at the same time, I'm like, will I have time to play it a lot? I would love to homebrew for that too. And that's and actually there's a thing called what is it called? Oh, VIDE, VIDE. And it's a Vectrex IDE. It's a software development environment, but it's brilliant. It actually has an emulator built into it. So you can soup to nuts make your games inside it on your computer and test your game inside that environment. It's just a beautiful thing. And so in my mind is that if I ever did get to the point where I wanted to maybe do homebrew, if I ever had the brain power and the mindset to do that, at least I know I've got that software that's free available, and I could actually do a lot of damage with that without even owning the hardware. And if I wanted to buy a real one, I could always, sell my kidney. I'm sure the prices will only kind of go up and stuff. But the point is that, I would be able to still develop and make something for it without necessarily having to keep this hardware around. So
very cool.
Very awesome.
So is there anything else that maybe we missed or that you want to bring up before we close it out? I know it's getting late there, and just feel free to reach out, say hi. The website it's there. It'll be kind of updating it. There's that little game there's also, which is called Space Mantis. So you can actually play it. The one thing about the website, if you visit it with your browser, with a mobile device, you actually will also get a different experience. The actual game will look different. It'll actually have touch controls on the screen that aren't there in the PC version. So on the PC version that you're looking at right there that you showed, you just use your keyboard, the space bar to shoot, and the arrow keys to move left and right. But if you, but again, as far as content, so yes, I'm on eBay, I'm on Etsy, I'm on some of those other ones, basically, just contact me directly because we can avoid the market and all that stuff, and I'll just get you a better price. Like I said, I've got guys who'll buy 5 or 6 things for me at one time, and I'll just give them a nice discount on the whole thing, and so they get more of these things and they can enjoy their stuff. So. But yeah, really, thank you so much for giving me a chance to talk about this stuff, and I really do look forward to hearing from people if they have questions or ideas or thoughts, and just really looking forward to seeing more great stuff come out of the community. I love seeing all the new games coming out. This is all exciting. I love that you showcase this stuff,
and that you really do get the word out about these things, that you're a supporter. I mean, you're one of the early adopters. Every time I get with the coupler, you were like, I'll take one. And I was like, that is so great. That is, just kind of, it's sort of, because there's always that kind of thing where I'm just sort of taking a chance on, is it even something that anyone cares to do or check out and stuff. And, I've been very fortunate that people have found, use and value in those things. And that makes me feel great, because it is something I'm actually making that's, it's not just another thing that sits on a shelf, but at least I know that it's there to, when they want to use it, it's going to be available, and and it's not, it's like I said, just hopefully something that's useful for folks.
Yeah, I mean, we've chatted off and on since you've started this, and it's always great chatting with you. I think you're doing something great for the community, and I enjoy the products, and I thought you would be an interesting person to have on and do an interview, because a lot of people, like I seen in the chat, I don't know if you could see that, they're like,
haven't looked it up.
That's
My
the
apologies,
coupler guy.
I haven't heard anything. Yeah.
That's the coupler guy.
I'm still in the green.
Coupler
I guess
guy.
I'm still in the green room or whatever. That side chat. I see you and me, but that's it. So I apologize. If anyone thought I was ignoring them or disregarding, my apologies. I was actually just not seeing it. So
you're on the cell phone, so I don't think you can see all the comments.
Oh, I'm on like a computer, but I've still, like, my view is like that. The thing you had me link onto originally, where I was sort of like in that back room and I was grayed out. So that's what I see.
Okay.
So, private chat. Oh, hold on. Is it over here? Is it comments? Is that what it is?
Yeah, if you click comments, there's been
there you go.
a
Look
lot
at that,
of things,
guys.
but
I apologize. I was in this like private chat thing the whole time, so it was just you and me talking.
Oh, so, that's why you were in that one.
Yes, I just didn't even think to click that little comments tab. I was like, oh, we're on. This is okay.
Yeah, because a lot of people know about all these couplers. So, I mean, I thought it would be interesting to have you on and talk about it. And you're not just a coupler guy. I mean, you do a lot of other things. You work with the homebrew community and different companies working on things. You're interested in making games. I mean, it's very interesting. And people love hearing about this kind of stuff, myself included. So, thanks for coming on.
Like, all the photographs too you saw on the website are actually, I've actually got it's a Kodak, it's a Kodak camera from 1997. It's one of the early digital cameras.
Oh, wow.
It has like the viewfinder is like, which one is it? Is it the DC? It's not the DC 40. DC 120 is what it is, but it's hilarious. There's something about those old digital cameras that just, if you take a photograph of something and you show someone that's like what year, and it isn't dated, like it's like take a picture of your Intellivision and it'll be like, what year was this photograph taken? You're gonna think must have been like from the 90s. Like it just instantly, there's just something that the color, the compression, the way the CCDs worked back then that compared to our cameras today that are amazing. It just has this really cool dated look. So I went back and I take pictures of all of my products with this old 90s camera, and then I bring it over and I put it into the website. So trying to kind of give it a little bit of a dated, look along with the website. So it's just fun to be able to play around that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, anything else before we close out?
Oh man, there's always something, but no, again, thank you so much, guys. I'll go back and read through the comments and stuff and check out the video once it gets posted, and I guess it's available to play back and stuff, and see if there's
it might take a bit for the chat, but it should be there. I'm not sure how that works. I just recently got my live chat working. I had to change some settings, so it should come on there. Sometimes it takes a little bit with YouTube. I'm not really sure, but if not, let me know, and I'll watch for it too, and I'll make sure it gets back on there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yep. Well, thank you for coming back on, and maybe we'll have you on again for another segment. So it was a great interview. I appreciated you making some time for me, and I enjoyed chatting with you.
Absolutely. Have a great night, guys. Everyone. See you later.
All right. We'll see you soon. All right, guys. That was Caleb Garner, 8-Bit Widgets. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Michael Hayes, for coming on literally as I'm driving home. Message you. You come on. You tell us about Retro Game Con and give us some pictures. So I appreciate all of you. Also, all the guys in chat and the guys that did the game challenge. We're still learning with that. We're going to get it better each time. We're getting more and more people. There was like another 4 people that wanted to be involved, just couldn't make this one or didn't quite have their setup ready. So if you are interested in those game challenges, we are going to do one every show. And other times when I have a little bit of free time, we're going to have a show just with game challenges. So sometime when we're all free, we'll all jump in there, not on the show day, and we'll play a bunch of games. And we'll post about it. It's like, it'll be a lot of fun. My whole goal is I want to bring awareness to products, games, new hardware. I want to get people playing their Intellivision games and other retro items. It's like, I think instead of just watching videos and chatting, let's start playing. I mean, that's the whole goal here. I love it. I want you guys to play more. And I'm going to go to PRGE. I'm leaving Thursday morning. I am going to go live quite a bit. I'm sure Papa Pete's going to go live as well. So we're going to, and watch for Pete's video. So we did a video together, 99% Papa Pete, but I'm in there a little bit. But we're going to show you a lot of games come this weekend or the end of the week. And we're going to show you everything at PRGE. So stay tuned for that. And we'll see you guys in the next show in 2 weeks. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.